Hi! Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. How are we doing today? How we doing? I hope that we're doing all right. I tried something different. Did you see? I tried something different. Mm-hmm. I tried putting music um at at uh at audience suggestion at Astrofo's suggestion. I tried putting music in. I think it worked. Oh, I'm glad to hear it. Welcome, Astrofos. How you doing today? I hope that you're doing well. Hope that you are doing well. Ah, it's been a while since we read a paper. Yay! I'm glad it worked. I might, oh, hey, Herde, glad to have you. Yeah, I'm thinking I might try and commission some original music. I know, I've heard of somebody who apparently does some really nice work, but I need to get around to that. Eventually I'll do that. But yeah, for now, for now we have that. Oh boy. So I don't think I've actually done a reading stream since the charity stream back. When was was that was that January? It was a while ago, wasn't it? I don't know how long it's been. It's been a minute. More than a minute. It's been several minutes. It's been possibly even months. Which is kind of sad. I'm going through my Twitter to try and figure out how long ago that was. You'd think I would have prepared this, but no, apparently not. Do 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 do. Ages ago. Positively ages ago. 18th of January. Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's been like not quite 2 months, but it's been a while. But this is actually one of the reward tiers from the charity stream. We are gonna read one of y'all, somebody requested that we read a paper on moral licensing, and so that is what we are going to do today. We're gonna read about moral licensing. Um, so fun story about moral licensing. I actually some of the people in my lab when I was getting my PhD actually studied moral licensing. This is one of the things, like one of my grad school friends did her dissertation on this. Ah, fun fact, fun fact. 51 days. That is a long time. Oh my gosh. Mm. Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a little while. 14% of a year. Oh gosh, which milestone was this? This was the second milestone. So I fulfilled the first milestone was draw an OC or VTuber of chat's choice, and everybody chose A, the astrologer, so I did that right away. And now, 51 days later, I'm finally getting on to the second one, which is I will read a paper of chat's choice on a topic of chat's choice. So that's going to be moral licensing. I was tempted to read a paper by my friend, and I was like, oh, that's actually kind of dangerous. I probably shouldn't do that. And then I was like, oh, I can do it with one of my friend's committee members. And I couldn't actually, because like there's this guy that studies moral licensing that my friend is like a huge fan of. He's like a big name in the area. And I was like, oh, I should try and read one of his papers on stream. But unfortunately, none of them, I couldn't find one that was open access on this topic from him. And admittedly, I didn't look really hard. But unfortunately I couldn't. But I did find this one. This one seemed interesting. I did find a few meta-analyses and I debated doing those, but I figured sometimes like it's nice to get a little concrete. So we are looking at a little good is good enough. Ethical consumption, cheap excuses, and moral self-licensing. That's what we're reading today. Yeah, it's moral licensing time. Yes, 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 yes. So moral licensing, I'm sure the paper will define what moral licensing is, but I'm gonna give my really, like, I'm not an expert on this at all. Hey, Bushi, how you doing? But a bit body, tired after the tournament and tested. By the way, congratulations on placing. That's awesome. Can't wait to look at one thing I don't have as a lawyer, morals. Oh, I don't know if this is gonna help with it. Yeah, I read through the abstract while prepping to track words per minute. Oh god. Hey Bobo, not me alt tapping to look up that definition. Yeah, moral licensing, it's something along the lines of I did something morally good, which means that I'm allowed to do something a bit morally evil or like morally bad in the future. I've done good things, so that gives me license to do some questionable things in the future. That's my understanding of moral licensing. Essentially, you're kind of treating it like a balancing scale or like, I've been thinking about it in terms of food, like if I'm good all day, I've been eating healthy for a while, then I can have a treat, kind of like that. So I've been a very good person, so that means I can do a bad thing. Yeah, kind of like a point system. Maybe like those I've never played a video game with that kind of like ethical system, but like those ones that track your virtue or whatever, or like, oh, you did good things, and then it goes down because you did a bad thing, but you've done enough good things that it, or whatever. A little bummed about not making champion, but it was a 1-2 decision. My opponent was good, but it's a minor setback for a bigger cup. Absolutely, absolutely. And frankly, you won last year, right? So that this means you're giving somebody else a turn at the glory. You are being a gracious, gracious competitor, and then next year you will make a glorious comeback and defeat the opponent soundly. 3-0 decision. Or something. I don't entirely know how it works, but I believe in you. All right, let's see. Let's see what we got here. I'm excited to read this because I think moral licensing is really interesting as well. Oh, can I do the? No, I don't want to scroll too far. There we go. I'm gonna try and zoom in as much as I can. Oh yeah, so this is by Janice Engel and Nora Schgesch. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. I feel kind of bad. But I'm very excited to see what they have found. This one, this isn't necessarily from like a total psychology perspective. This is from a business, sort of like more organizational, industrial, business schooly kind of perspective, if I remember correctly. Marketing kind of deal. But I mean, that's basically psychology. I'm not gonna lie to you. So let's take a look. So let's start with our abstract. It sounds like Astrolatrophos has already read this, so I'm sorry if this is redundant, but I have not actually read the full abstract. I skimmed it, but I didn't actually read the whole thing. So let's see. Cheap excuses in product. That's an interesting term. So this paper explores the role of cheap excuses in product choices. Cheap excuse. I like that. It sounds almost like they're being a little judgmental, which is kind of funny to me. If agents, so agents are the people who are acting here. These are the people who are taking action. In other words, I guess in this case, the consumer, the shopper. If agents feel that they fulfill one ethical aspect, so one aspect about their purchase is an ethical or moral plus, they may care less about other independent ethical facets within product choice. So if they feel like they're doing one thing good by purchasing this product, or they think this is an ethical product to purchase in one context, they may not much care about the other aspects of it. Choosing a product that fulfills one ethical aspect may then suffice for maintaining a high moral self-image in agents and render it easier to ignore other ethically relevant aspects they would otherwise care about more. So yeah, as long as there's one good thing about this product I'm buying, I don't necessarily have to care about others. I can still feel good about myself. I can still feel like I'm a morally upstanding person. The use of such cheap excuses. I love how they keep calling it cheap excuses. I don't know, like something about that feels a bit more like, I don't know if judgmental's the right word, but a bit more targeted than you would normally see in an academic paper. I just find it funny. Could thus lead to a static moral self-licensing effect. Static? I haven't heard of static moral self-licensing, but I'm sure they're going to explain what they mean by that. And this would extend the logic of the well-known dynamic self-licensing. See, I'm not super, like I said, no ethical consumption under capitalism, essentially. They're saying, like, as long as it's somewhat ethical, you might consider it basically ethical. Judgmental seems like a perfect word in this context, yeah. Come to think of it in terms of morality. But maybe that's just kind of the maybe that's kind of the language that they've decided to use, which doesn't mean it didn't start out judgmental, like I love when researchers get a little funny with like the terminology that they're using. They come up with these words and they're just like, I'm gonna get a little silly with it. Apparently excuses cheated on the author's sister. Oh no. If you buy Chick-fil-A, you donate an equivalent amount to LGBT-friendly charity. Kind of like that. I think it's like, hey, Xeno Time, welcome, welcome. I think in this context, it sounds like they're talking about it's the same product. So like, if I bought from, say, Chick-fil-A, whose owner has a history of donating to anti-LGBTQ causes and like supporting anti-LGBTQ causes, but I also know that Chick-fil-A pays its workers fairly and gives them like routine time off or something along those lines. I might feel that because Chick-fil-A treats its workers in a positive manner, that essentially balances. I'm supporting a business that treats its workers well, and that cancels out or balances out the effect of supporting a business where the owner has supported these anti-LGBTQ causes kind of deal. It's like some ethical aspects of the product make the unethical aspects not relevant to my self-perception of morality, is my understanding. Yeah, like when Amazon had green options, exactly. So like buying merch from a content creator, but the merch manufacturer is fast fashion. But the content creators help but fast fashion. Pretty much, yeah. Or like, I'm trying to think of other things, like, oh, this food is like, these eggs are from free-range chickens. Maybe the farm workers who collected these eggs were underpaid, or I'm buying them from a store that's known to exploit its workers, but the chickens were treated well, and therefore it's not unethical. Like, that's the impression I'm getting from the ad. Like, we'll have to read the paper just to be sure exactly what's going on, but that's kind of the impression that I'm getting. Yeah, when searching for the pronunciation of oh no, has passed away. Oh, that's so sad. This was just published in 2020, so that's pretty recent. Oh, that's sad, and it looks like they're the corresponding author on this paper, too. Oh, that is sad. I will have to look. I feel like I should be able to pronounce this, though. I feel kind of bad that I can't. I'll have to look it up. I should have looked it up before stream. I'm gonna have to make a note of that in the future, to look up name pronunciation before stream. That's on me. That's me being not great. Right. So they've done an experimental study. Yeah. Provides empirical. I feel like I like, yeah, I like the idea of dedicating this stream to Dr. Nora Strick, but yeah, but also, like, I worry about the shenanigans I'm gonna get up to in this stream, and I really do not want to taint her legacy. I don't know if I might accidentally say something horrible. Or, like, questionable. I gotta turn a light on. It's getting dark in here. There we go. I know you can't tell, but I can tell, and that's what matters. Okay. Appreciation stream. Yes, appreciation for the work and valuable intellectual contributions that she has done. She has contributed to science. All right. Empirical evidence that static counterpart of moral self-licensing exists. I'm really interested in what this interest between dynamic and static is. Because I'm actually not familiar. I'm sure if I asked my friend who studies this stuff, she would know, but I think we're going to have to rely on the introduction section to tell us more. Thus, static moral self-licensing and dynamic moral self-licensing can exist next to each other. So there are two aspects. Also found one result not slowed by Szech? Ooh, that makes sense. That follows what my understanding of, like, general pronunciation rules for names from that region. Szech. Dr. Nora Szech. All right. However, it is critical that agents is like, this is a very, like, economist way of phrasing things, I feel like. It's a very, I wonder if, here, let's see if we can find information. Department of Economic, there it is, they're economists. They're economists. This explains everything. This explains so much why they're calling people agents. Yeah, agents is like a very economics way of referring to people. Actors within the economy, agents. Emergency meeting. Oh no. Okay. Yeah. However, it's critical that agents do not feel that they fulfilled an ethical criterion out of sheer luck. That is, agents need some room so that they can attribute the ethical improvement at least partly to themselves. So they want to consume something ethically, but it needs to be consumed ethically, like, they need to be consciously aware that they are consuming this thing in an ethical manner. There's economics. There's a lot of cool stuff in agent-based modeling world. This is true. I took a workshop on agent-based modeling once, and it was so fun. We modeled a zombie apocalypse. It was really cool. I've never had an opportunity to use agent-based modeling since then, but I would love to find an opportunity. I was planning on using agent-based modeling to model information spread. But then you have to like estimate all the parameters for the model, right? Agent-based modeling, by the way, is basically you're creating a computer simulation. Agents are like simulated people, and then you give them certain parameters, like this person has a 60% chance of passing on a piece of information to another person, and like that kind of thing. And then you set these parameters, and then you click play, and it runs a simulation, and it shows like as something spreads through this set of agents or something along those lines. Like I only understand like the very, very basics of it, and I took this workshop not quite a decade ago, but close to a decade ago. So my memory isn't great, but it seems really cool. I would love to do more with agent-based modeling. Oh, it's super neat. I don't know what I'd do with it though. That's the thing. But I guess I've always been interested in network analysis, and I've taken a class in network analysis, and I do think agent-based modeling would be like, Astrology Pros, you're making me feel old. No. I mean, I know I'm old. But that was uncalled for. No, that's okay. That's okay. It's okay. I have recognized that I'm old, and I have accepted this fact. That's okay. I will live. It turns to dust. Thank you, Bobo. Join me in my pyramid. Oh, but it sounds dusty and dark down there. Maybe the dark, and it sounds nice and cool, actually. Maybe that's not so bad. Maybe. Tempting. What if I just walk into the bog? I might walk into the bog and then just not come out. That sounds nice. Nice and cool in the cool mud in the bog. Anyway. Not old, wise. Right, I would never claim that I'm wise. I think like, no, join me in the sea. Maybe I'll join you in the sea. I admit that since I was a child, I have had a fear of the deep ocean, so I'm not sure, but maybe I'll join you in the sea. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah. Bogs are very cool. Yeah. No, but I would never call myself wise. So like, you know, there's that thing with like D&D stats, and like, I know a lot of other people have said this in the past, but I highly relate to the high intelligence, low wisdom. I highly relate to that sort of stat spread. Like, I feel like that encapsulates me pretty well. High intelligence, I can do the academic stuff. My wisdom, my practical day-to-day intelligence, or like my practical day-to-day smarts for dealing with normal situations is, I wouldn't consider it terribly high at all. Shout out to explorative cooling too. Okay, we'll say the shallow part. The deep ocean's really scary to me too. Yeah. It's like, I'd love to see it, but also it's scary. Oh, but just thinking of all the cool creatures that are down there, that's a cool thing. Like, if I could send like an unmanned like submarine camera-y thing down there and like control it, I would love that. But I don't necessarily want to go there. I don't even know if I'm comfortable floating on a boat above it, really. Mariana's Trench, my beloved. I know, right? I love it. I would never want to visit it myself. Having dealt with rather well-off individuals who fund research, I keep telling peeps in Science Discord that they are smarter than they realize. Yeah, this is... I would not disagree with that. I feel like a lot of scientists would say low wisdom, high intelligence. I do think that kind of goes with the territory. Like, of course, not all scientists, but we are people who have chosen to stay in school forever. And I don't know what that says about us. I do have some experience with the real world. Like, I did work outside of academia for a little bit, but, you know, limited. You guys have set the bar pretty high and don't realize how special your average person. I don't know about that. Given how much scientists get paid, high and low wisdom is very true. See, Fi agrees. Fi agrees on wisdom talk. I think you can Bring some wisdom out of talking about this paper. Yeah, I should probably do that. And also, I will never judge anyone for typos because I am made of typos. This is who I am. High and low whiz sounds like I don't know how this applies. I just know, kind of, yeah. Self-identifying yourself as low wisdom is probably an indicator of high wisdom. I think it's, in my case, I think it's more an indicator of incredibly low self-esteem. But that's also possible. I think it's an indicator of self-awareness, and I wouldn't say self-awareness is the only aspect of wisdom, but it might play a role. Okay, okay. Okay. It is critical that agents do not. Okay, right. So they need to feel like they consciously chose to make an ethical choice, not that they just stumbled into it. Outsiders, although monetarily incentivized for correct estimates, are completely oblivious to the effects of moral self-licensing, both static and... I'm excited to figure out what they mean by outsiders. Like, are they having second parties rate the perceived morality of the person making the purchase? Time to do a study on D&D and people's wisdom is my dump stat and how it correlates to self-awareness. That would be interesting. Or self-esteem, or what? Like, honestly, I would say I was low intelligence, but I feel like I'm not allowed to say that anymore considering how far I've gotten. I feel like if I said I was low intelligence, that would be almost an insult to everybody who passed me through all the classes I took and all the exams and all the milestones I passed. Like, I feel like I'm not allowed to say that anymore because I feel like I'm insulting people. But like, sure, I'm not that good of an actor to fool. I have imposter syndrome, but I'm not that good of an actor to have fooled that many people. You are not low intelligence. Thank you. I just apply it in very questionable ways. Low constitution. Yeah, I'm very low constitution too. I am deeply low constitution, but I will fight anyone. I'll fight anyone, and I'll lose, but I will fight anyone. Okay, so that's the abstract. Let's see. Let's go. I just want to look at the figures. So they have, so this is presumably what they showed the participants. I'm getting ahead of myself, I know. I just like looking at figures. Willingness to pay for controlled manufacturing conditions. Product controlled, product organic. Oh, outsiders in this case involve people outside of the purchasing. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Oh, okay. Anyway. Or the exchange. Yeah. All right, let's see. Okay, let's start. Introduction. Okay. The production of green, environmentally sustainable products has been increasing. So this implies that, and based on the graphs, I think this makes sense, that one of the aspects they're using to make a purchase seem more moral is that it's green and environmentally sustainable. So they're seeing purchasing green and environmentally sustainable products as morally desirable and morally right and morally affirming. This phenomenon includes projects from organic agriculture, so organic crops, and sustainably produced electronic items. However, even though consumers buy more green products, purchases seem to fall short compared with stated intents that consumers express, which is not a huge surprise. Like, there is a big gap between stated intent and actual behavior. I think the correlation between, like, self-reported beliefs or self-reported behavioral intentions and actual behavior tends to average around an R of 0.2 or something. There's really, like, low correlation between what we think we're gonna do and what we actually do. So this is not surprising to me at all. Organic agriculture, head to desk. Yeah, I get what you mean. I get it's a complicated topic and there's a lot of misunderstandings around it. Is my understanding. Like in terms of GMOs, like everything that we eat is GMO pretty much because we have been raising and selectively breeding crops for generations and generations. Just people think a very specific type of genetic modification when you say GMO. Sorry, pet peeve due to my literal job. Understandable. I would never begrudge you that. I have many pet peeves related to my field. Yeah, it's wild. Like, people are very bad about predicting what they're gonna do. And there's a lot of possible explanations for that. Some of it might be like we say what we want to do, but not what we think we're actually gonna do. So like me saying I intend to go to bed at 10 p.m. it might be completely unrelated to when I actually end up going to bed. So it could be maybe we're reporting it as aspirational. Maybe we just don't have a great understanding of ourselves. Whatever it is, there's many possible explanations. All of them are probably somewhat true, but we're very bad at predicting what we're gonna do. Experts have agreed that the ratio is 1 to 10. Spending on ethically improved products amounts to approximately 10% of what customers claimed they would be willing to spend. So we say we're willing to spend a lot of money for ethical products. So, like, I say I would be willing to spend more money to support a higher living wage, to support a living wage for retail workers. Or I'd say I'd be willing to spend more money for products that were made in, like, say, uh, a ethically run factory or something like that. But then when it comes to how I actually spend my money, I don't follow through on that. So only about 10% of what I actually say I'll spend on ethical purchases is what I actually spend on ethical purchases. This tracks a lot with how I understand human beings through social psychology. Like, there, of course, there's the better than average effect, which is like we all tend to think that we're better than average. Like, if you ask people how they are at driving, over 60% of people say that they're better than average, when kind of by definition almost it can't be more than 50%. There's also some really fun studies looking at what is it? How good you think you are socially. So how socially adept are you? And like it was done on college students, and I think they found something like, depending on how you ask the question, up to 80 or 90% of college students said they were better than average at like social interaction, and like something like 60% said they were in the top 10% of skill at interaction. Like, we tend to think that we're better people than we are and that we're more skilled than we are and stuff. So it doesn't surprise me that people are, whether intentionally or unintentionally, vastly overestimating how ethical their purchases are. I would gladly pay more if I could afford it. I feel that. I feel that so much. Okay, anyway. Moreover, data suggests that many consumers attempt to ignore ethically questionable production standards when possible. So they try not to be aware if they're purchasing something where its production or whatever it is contained unethical aspects. Like, if I don't know, you can't hold it against me. If I didn't know it was produced under bad circumstances, then it's not my moral responsibility that I bought it. It sounds like. This finding suggests that although many customers doxastic anxiety or doxastic anxiety I'm gonna Google that word because I don't know what that means. Doxastic. Doxastic logic is the logic concerned with reasoning about beliefs. Whatever. Anxiety about forming beliefs. That is interesting. I'll have to look into that after. Anxiety about forming beliefs sounds like a really interesting thing to. I wonder if there's psychology papers on that. I bet there is. I talked a lot about it in the sociology paper I stayed up until midnight last night writing. Nice. So it's a very philosophical thing. Most of these papers are in philosophical journals, which makes sense. Like, thoughts about beliefs and stuff. I wonder if there's... All of these are psychology. Folk psychology, philosophy of the mind. Philosophical sociological term, that makes sense. Anxiety about forming beliefs, like not changing your mind but like getting an opinion. I mean, I figure that makes sense, right? Like, especially if you're very concerned. Like, I tend to be really concerned about trying to get at the truth of the matter regardless of my personal beliefs, which is scary because living creatures like us, whether you're human or if you're a Mothman, whatever it is, we are very prone to seeking out information that is consistent with our beliefs and either ignoring or discounting or trying to debunk information that's inconsistent with our current beliefs. So I do personally have anxiety about forming new beliefs because I want to be very, very sure that that belief is based on empirical evidence and is not being influenced by these biases that I might have. And I can imagine it popping up in other situations as well. Like, you don't want to place a bet or something on something. Like, let's say I'm trying to pick, let's say I want to have a desirable afterlife. I want to have a good afterlife. Or like maybe I'm not sure if an afterlife exists. And some religions will say you have to pick our specific religion if you want a good afterlife. So choosing which religious beliefs to follow or something like that, or like which way to live to have a desirable afterlife, like that sounds scary, right? Like if you genuinely believe this could be the difference between, say, eternal torment and paradise, picking a belief there sounds paralyzing, you know? Ah, sorry, it must be frustrating. You must, no, you're fine, Mari, you're fine. You're fine. 14.7 words per minute. Oh no, that is just crushing. Yeah, it sounds scary as heck. Yeah, we're only at the first paragraph. Astrologopos is right. I should go. I should keep going. Okay. This finding suggests that although many consumers have some awareness of ethical problems in production awareness and some willingness to pay this is an economics paper. Look at that. Willingness to pay WTP. Cheap excuses may be welcome when regarding opting for less ethical items. So essentially they're saying moral licensing is playing a role here, and it's a very intentional strategic thing. We have some aware that our purchases may or we have a belief that our purchases to some extent will reflect our morality, but we also want to make purchases that we want to make regardless of their morality. So we are trying to find ways that we can feel just in our purchases. Beating the zero rule. Words per minute size. Psy is incredible. I love Psy. I love Psy. She's great. Interesting question of whether believing something can be a moral matter. That too. There's a lot of interesting, like, philosophical stuff that gets in here, and I'm certainly not a philosopher, but there's, like, just the psychology of, like, how people form beliefs, how people hold those beliefs, and why people take certain paths to forming and holding certain beliefs is really interesting to me. Alright, so some brands, such as Whole Foods, foster a universal approach towards production that adheres to high, broad ethical standards. Whole Foods is owned by Amazon. I see the correlation of astral and chat versus word per minute. Yeah, that would be more a t-test than a correlation, right? Because astral's presence is a binary variable. Astral's either here or not. And then you check the average words per minute per stream. And then we'd have to control for the streamer. So let's say we could do a t-test with a control variable. Yeah, the thing, I think what they're saying with Whole Foods here, by high ethical standards, is Whole Foods really brands itself as like, hey, look at us, we're organic and stuff. And I think based on them talking about, like, specifically green products and organics and belief about organics foods, they're saying that that's why that's the case. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about Whole Foods, but I will say they have some really good guacamole. If I want good guacamole from a grocery, I'm going to Whole Foods. I'm sorry. Right, high perceived ethic. Exactly. It's more about the perception of ethical standards than it is about the actual ethical standards. Because, you know, most people don't have time to scrutinize every single company, right? And, like, is it possible to be a large company that is also ethical? That's another question. There's one intermediary one where I popped into size early, and then at the end she got 27 words per minute on that one, but to be frank, I didn't know if I wasn't there to hear them be read. That's a good question. Maybe I wonder if it's just the presence of you in chat now that we know you do this words per minute stuff. If it's enough. Hey, Playmaker. I try to watch my weight. I only go to half foods. I see. Unfortunately, we don't have one of those where I am. All right. By contrast, many companies have focused on one ethical facet of their products while remaining silent on others. For example, fashion producer H&M advertises it replaces conventional cotton with its conscious collection with organic or recycled cotton. So they're specifically, rather than just saying, we offer organic things. Specifically, they're saying we have a specific like aspect of our things that are ethical, whereas Whole Foods tries to portray everything they do as ethical. Quarter Foods, where everything is 25 cents. On one hand, I love that. On the other hand, as somebody who got food poisoning very recently, that concerns me. In a similar matter, Apple publicly announced an audit of all its suppliers regarding the use of conflict minerals. So minerals that were generated, presumably minerals that are generated in areas of conflict where there's more risk of exploitation and harm. Reminds me of old automats. It's very safe, I promise. Are you sure? Are you sure? I'm being skeptical. Please invest in and buy from Quarter Foods. No, thank you. Not in this economy. Well, the prices are attractive in this economy, but investing in anything in this economy is not currently very attractive to me right now. Okay. Even though H&M and Apple have included well-being of their workers in their codes of conduct, emphasizing its importance, reports of problematic working conditions have been repeatedly observed. I would argue that this might be... Whole Foods is a weird thing because it's owned by Amazon, which has a lot of reports of worker mistreatment. But Whole Foods itself, on the specific level, I don't think I've really heard reports there, or at least any more than I would any other company, so hard to say. I look sketchily at anything less than £1, so 19 pence, and I would assume I would die if I ate it. What if it's just like a gumball or something like that, you know? Or like a single celery stick or something. Like, if it's something that inconsequential, I wouldn't be too fussed if it's less than $1, you know? Back in my day, all candy bars were less than $1. Back in my day, you could get a ring pop for less than $1. For like 85 cents or something. I don't know. I don't know. Back in my day, a soda was only $1. Yes, at Quarter Foods we sell tiny little chunks of food. Oh my gosh. All right. For example, articles by Duhigg and Barboza, Burke, and Fullerton have highlighted problematic working conditions during the production of Apple products, and Preston Leffler reported workers' rights violations among some of the best-ranked suppliers of A&M. So this is arguing that Whole Food is seen as overall ethical, whereas other companies like H&M and Apple are seen as ethical in some contexts, but in other contexts they have demonstrated, or at least there's been reporting indicating that they engage in unethical behavior. Saves so much time cooking. I mean, Freddo is written like 40p, so the Freddo comic meter makes it look sketchy. What is Freddo? Little bits of food in those vending gumball machine capsules. If they put it in a claw machine, it would be over for me. I love claw machines so much. If I could go to the grocery and buy my stuff through claw machines, I would do it. That's dangerous. Not recommended. Anyway, where were we? We follow Bandura and Gert and define moral and ethical behavior as avoiding harm to other people and or the... Okay. I think I talked about this in the Dungeon Meshi video. This is specifically so they're defining morality as avoiding harm. A moral thing as something avoiding harm. This is consistent in psychology with the dyadic model of morality, which is largely pushed by Kurt Gray. Kurt Gray says morality is all about harming somebody. Something's morally good if you're avoiding harm. Something's morally bad if somebody's being harmed. And harm is broadly defined. It could be physical harm. It could be emotional harm. It could be financial harm. Whatever it is. Don't give them ideas. Somebody could do claw machine groceries. Yeah. There have been times when I'm just desperate and will eat whatever is this Tesco Express has because it's my only option. I've been there. Yeah. Yeah, so this is a very dyadic approach to morality. There are models of morality that contest this. Some of them hold up better, some of them hold up worse. Oh, you remember that video? Nice! So Freddos are tiny chocolate frogs. I see. You know, I love when there's like weird little cultural measures like that. Like if the cost of Freddos is a measure of like the health of the economy, or here in the US we have like Waffle House closures as like an indication of how severe weather is and stuff. I've never been to Waffle House. I want to go to Waffle House so bad. Anyway, the Costco hot dog. Yeah, the Costco hot dog or Arizona tea. For those unfamiliar, the Costco is a large like sort of like bulk buy deal store. Sam's Club is another type, but Costco has like a food court area where they sell like hot dogs and pizza and soda, and they specifically have locked in the cost of the hot dogs there at like, what is it, like $1 or is it 150 or something like that, and it's been that price for like ever, and they're at the point where I think they're basically losing money on it, but like the founder of Costco or something is like, we are not raising prices. Their food course is a banger, 150. Yeah, I don't have a membership, so I can't go in. And then like Arizona tea is like big cans of like tea. Um, and they're sold for 99 cents. And it has it printed on the can, like 99 cents. And they say to report any store that's selling them for more than that because they refuse to raise their price above 99 cents no matter what. And it's like kind of incredible. I remember hearing the owner made threats against people who suggested changing it, but I might be... No, you're absolutely remembering correct. Or at least I've heard that too. I don't know if it's true, but I've heard that many times as well. Speaking of cheap groceries, it's so funny. It's a point of national identity in Germany. We're in a car with our friends and go past the grocery store and they can't help but tell how cheap it is. I'm jealous. Oh my gosh, the amount that I spend on a weekly thing of groceries has literally, not figuratively, literally doubled in the past decade. It costs me twice as much to get a week's worth of groceries these days as it used to. And that sucks. Anyway. For a company focusing on improving one half of the whole facet of their production process compared with many might be easier. So this is the economist argument. Like, the economists are all about like money and things like that. This isn't about whether people are doing ethical consumption. It's specifically, they're framing it in a way of like, our research is important because it can help your company get all the benefits of ethical products with minimum effort. It might not be what, like, the authors may not believe that, but that's how they're selling it as, like, this is why this research matters. I'm very thankful for the Germans for taking over our supermarkets and driving down all the prices. The dream. It's a thing over there forever, though, and I find it really funny. I wish. For example, textiles producers might limit environmental damage from growing cotton, but ignore other ethically relevant aspects of their production processes. Oh boy. What might also be is that some facets, such as environmental impact, are easier to address than other facets, like labor and safety standards. Is that true? I wonder about that. I guess this may partly explain why companies stress specific ethical aspects to increase their ethical reputation. So yeah, they're saying it is more efficient for companies to focus on being ethical in one specific aspect as opposed to other aspects. Like, try and be ethical on one specific thing and push that really hard as opposed to being broadly ethical. Another reason for such practices could be that they serve the customer's moral interests. So it's not just beneficial for the companies, it can be beneficial for the customers. Maybe for customers, fulfilling one ethical aspect is sufficient to ease their moral conscience when buying a product. So like Maury said earlier, the whole phrase, like, there's no ethical consumption over capitalism, or under capitalism, but if I can find a product that's ethical in one aspect, then I don't need to feel as bad about it. Potentially, for many product decisions, a little good is good enough. So as long as it's ethical in some aspects, that's fine. I will buy it as long as it's at least somewhat ethical. If so, the need to improve other ethical facets may become irrelevant for companies as soon as they address one aspect. So they've done 3 experiments. They explore whether subjects are comparatively less about other ethical unrelated dimensions as soon as one ethical aspect of the product appears to be fulfilled. So they're going to take a product, give it one ethical characteristic. Maybe it's organic, or maybe it's fair trade, or maybe like there were safe labor practices, or maybe like the employees get a lot of really good wages or something like that. And then they're potentially going to leave in other unethical aspects and then see if that one ethical aspect makes people feel better about buying it than if it has no ethical aspects. Aldi is called... Oh no, that's that letter I can't pronounce again. Hofer. In Austria, the multinational chain brought out the regional one, but everyone's so obsessed with cheap groceries they had to keep the name of the regional one they bought. Funny how that works. All right. For this purpose, in so-called product treatments, we randomize subjects into different conditions and elicit their WTP, which that was what the like willingness to pay. So willingness to pay, I'm guessing, is like how much they're willing to pay for improved manufacturing standards of textile products. Subjects make decisions on towels in neutral colors and of a comparable size and weight, grammage of the cotton used. If they opt for a towel manufactured under certified conditions, they receive less money for themselves. So they're giving the participants a budget. They have to spend, I'm gonna guess that they have to spend some of the budget on the towel, and then they can keep whatever they don't spend. So if they buy the less expensive towel, they have more money for themselves, and they get to take home more money. But if they buy the more expensive towel, that might be more ethical, then they have less money to take home for themselves, but they've made a more ethical purchase and can feel morally better about themselves. I wonder if this has to do with like seeing an unethical aspect of business seems to contradict the general notion of ethicalness, but not a specific one. Yeah, I wonder what the flip side would be like. What happens to your willingness to pay if you add an unethical aspect to the product as opposed to adding an ethical aspect? They have 3 experiments, so I wonder if they're going to look at that here. It doesn't seem like their primary focus, but it's possible they look at that. I wonder if they have supplemental material. Maybe they... Anyway, the way to find out would be reading this paper, so I should probably get on that. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting directions this could potentially go. Subjects make real economic decisions. They receive a towel and the money in the end. So they're actually getting the towel they're so-called purchasing. This is not a hypothetical situation. They're actually getting money and a towel, depending on their decisions in the study. Thus, in line with Levitt and List, we employ a real item to increase the outside validity of our economic experiments. So what they mean here, they're concerned with external validity. A lot of experiments are high in internal validity because you have to have a lot of control over the experiments. And a lot of times this study would be designed as like, you're making a hypothetical purchase. We're showing you a hypothetical towel and giving you hypothetical money. But here they're saying, like, we mentioned earlier that the correlation between what people say they're going to do and what people actually do is really low. They're trying to make this more like a real world situation by you're actually choosing a towel that you will spend real money on and own. The thing is, they're probably providing the money, so it's not people spending money out of their own bank account, it's people reducing their money for participating in the study, so it's a little different, but, it's more valid than just, like, making up a hypothetical situation. If they don't want to participate in the study anymore, do they throw in the towel? I do wonder if they still get it. So ethical standards would say, like, if they drop out halfway through, they should still get compensated for participating in the study. And I wonder if the towel counts as part of the compensation. According to the map I found on Reddit, Hofer is part of the Aldi Sud and is apparently in Slovenia. Oh, interesting. I'm sorry, I'm butchering these pronunciations. I need to work on that. We also elicit beliefs on how other subjects may behave in the incentivized manner. So that's what they mean by others. They had the participants first do this thing, and then so they had the participants do the thing first to see what the participants did, and then ask the participants, what do you think other people would do? Oh, that's fun. In the experiments, we follow the standard of economic experiments that have been described in Charnas and Fair and Falk and Heckman. Okay, I don't know what those are because I'm not an economist. I'm scared of economists. Oh, I'm doing fine, law. Oh, thank goodness. I'm trying. I don't think I'm doing well, but I am making an honest effort. So. All right. In all treatments, the instructions inform subjects that manufacturing or sewing towels is a production step unrelated to generating the raw material, in our case cotton, and that the 2 production steps often occur in different countries. So they're taking a complete separation of the production versus the gathering materials, probably to keep it a clean separation between the ethical and potentially unethical or ethically neutral aspects of the creation of this towel. Wait, the Trader Joe's I keep hearing Americans mention is apparently American branded Aldi Nord? That seems fake. Is that true? I know of various locations where there's like a Trader Joe's and an Aldi within like a mile or 2 of each other. And that seems like it would be unlikely if they're owned by the same company. But I guess that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. I mean, I've seen Starbucks closer together than that, I guess, and like Subway's closer together than that, but there are two Aldis. Oh, so there's one Aldi owned by one company, and then another Aldi owned by another. Oh, my brain. I'm scared of the word per minute count. I want to go down this rabbit hole, but I'm scared of the word per minute count. Oh, oh my goodness. Uh, Aldi. No! Never mind. Oh, the same family owns it. So not necessarily the same company. Oh, let's see. Okay. All right. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. That's a dangerous rabbit hole for me to go down. All right. Okay. So, nevertheless, our data, it says Aldi Nord owns Trader Joe's. Huh. Maybe it is real. Maybe. I don't know. There are many mysteries in this world. Many mysterious mysteries. Yeah, if I remember correctly, it was like splitting between two sons. They divided Germany with a north and south. Two Aldis is one of them evil. Oh my gosh. Okay, all right. Nevertheless, our data shows that the willingness to pay for secure working standards in the sewing process is highly significantly smaller. Okay, first of all, significantly smaller would suggest that it is statistically significantly smaller. Highly significantly seems to apply highly significant. There is no such thing as highly significant. That's not how this works. A lower p-value, like a very low p-value, is not more significant than another significant p-value. That's not how probability and p-value... It's not how that works. But it's possible because this is an economic paper, I'm misinterpreting what they're trying to say here. So I'm just going to say I'm probably misinterpreting what they're trying to say here, but if somebody says something is highly significant, yeah. Economists have a top secret highly significant. I'm going to find my economist friend after this, and I'm going to defeat him in battle. And make him give up the secret of highly significant. And then I'll defeat him in battle again, just because. Mere psychologists are not allowed to hear their wisdom. Just to be clear, I have no clue. I know you're being silly. I know you're... There's like this kind of like weird, I don't know if I'd call it animosity, but like, there's this thing with psychologists not really liking economists a lot. And I think... And my economist friend was raised by psychologists, actually. And like he's I would consider him one of the good ones. Economists are fine. Economists are fine. I'm just being silly, you know. But I think a lot of the feud between economics and psychology started because classic economics treats human beings as if they are purely rational actors. So they're acting, say, purely in terms of cost benefit, purely in terms of rationality. And basically all of psychology says that is not true even remotely. Humans are highly irrational. We don't even know if we can have a purely rational thought. And so there's this kind of like, psychologists like to laugh, especially at that sort of classical economic belief, because we're like, we have decades and decades and decades of research showing that the base assumption of classic economics, the very basic load-bearing assumption that human beings are rational, is not at all the case. Literally everyone else has that pseudo-animosity against econ. Let me tell you, my true animosity against econ is I have tried to proofread, my economist friend has sent me some of his papers and his manuscripts and stuff like that. And we were even talking about collaborating on a study or a paper at one point. And maybe we're still thinking about that. I don't know. I haven't checked in on that. But the thing about it is like, they try and boil down, or at least he tries and boil down everything to a formula. He's trying to explain the human brain with a mathematical formula. And like, that pains me. It pains me. He's trying to create a model for a specific cognitive process. And that particular cognitive process is very complex. There's a lot of aspects to it that I think he's not accounting for, but also by trying to make it into a formula, just when I try and read what he's saying, I have no idea what I can't understand it. I cannot, and like, he's always like, can you give me feedback on this? And I'm like, I feel like you're smarter. I feel like I'm not as smart as you think I am, or like, I feel like my knowledge base is completely irrelevant to what you're trying to do here. I cannot interpret this. If it was doable, humans probably wouldn't be able to do it. That's what I would argue. I mean, he's probably not trying to create like a perfect model that explains 100% of the variance. He's probably just trying to create a general model, which I think is kind of doable, but I think he needs to be more specific about it. I can't go into more specifics without like maybe giving away who he is, so I'm not gonna, but Aldi's Trader Joe's plus German billionaires divided by North times Australia. Oh my god. No, no, no. That's kind of what it feels like when I'm reading econ papers, though. This one seems like it's going to be manageable, but like other econ papers just cause me agony. I'm so sorry. Do you mind if I'm going to step away for a bit and turn on a fan and tell me if it's annoying, but I'm dying. It's too hot. It's too hot to live. So I'm going to turn on a fan. Okay. Thank you. Oh my gosh, it's too hot in here. Okay. All right. So the organic cotton is observed to operate, I'm guessing, as as I was discussing this in a Discord earlier, PloS One makes the authors edit their own papers. Like, I'm not blaming them. They probably wrote this paper and then read it and edited it a billion times, so it's totally understandable that they would have missed the observe to operate, that they would have skipped a word there. If you're using OBS, you can get a VST noise gate plugin to filter for fans and the like. Nice! I am using some kind of noise gate. I'm not sure if it's working though. Even if it can filter the fan, I don't know if it can filter out my cat screaming. Hello, Mr. Kitty. How are you doing on this fine day? You are very beautiful and very kind. He's a good boy. Okay. It's not time yet, though, for launchings. The organic cotton is observed to operate as a type of moral excuse to care less about the workers' conditions in the sewing sector. So because the cotton is organic, this is fine. Even if the workers are being treated poorly, at least the cotton is organic and environmentally friendly. 17.42 words per minute. The standard one is the VST ones are better, and no noise gate can beat the power of Kitty. That's true. And no noise gate should defeat the power of Kitty. Isn't that right, Mr. Kit Kat? You're a good boy. You're a good boy. Okay. Next, we explore whether fulfilling one ethical dimension, organic cotton, also has spillovers to another unrelated ethical context later in time, and find the following. In our study, approximately half an hour after the main part of so it's only half an hour, in which subjects focused on towels, they are offered the opportunity to share money with refugees from a local refugee camp. Ooh. The gate must always be open to let the kid be through. True. True. He has important insights. You know, right, Mr. Kib? Oh, you're beautiful. Love you. Okay. Yes, he's creature. He's giving himself a little scratch. Okay. Okay. Right. So they have them do this towel task, like buying a towel, deciding which towel to buy, or how much would you pay for this towel given these characteristics. They have some sort of half an hour of filler, and then they ask them if they want to donate money to a different cause that's unrelated. We find that subjects who know they will receive a towel made from organic cotton, so the more ethical choice in this paradigm, after the experiment donate less than the subjects who know their towel will be made from conventional cotton. So there's the moral licensing. I bought a towel that is environmentally good, and therefore I've already done my good deed for the day. I don't have to donate to these refugees in need. But if I didn't buy a towel that has some ethical aspect of its production, it's not using organic cotton or whatever, it's not as environmentally friendly, then I might feel more need to donate to these refugees to feel a little better about myself. We observed these effects even though subjects most likely knew that refugee crisis was drastic when the experience occurred and that all help was needed to cope with it. So we see this even though there is a particularly salient, pressing need for funds to help refugees. Achievement unlocked. Moral licensing. Yeah. Potentially, we find these static and dynamic moral spillovers because for all subjects, all ethical behaviors load on one and the same personality factor. Where did they get this personality factor? Being an ethical person. Is this whether it's important to be an ethical person or whether they believe they're an ethical person? Because those are two separate things. Like, I can think it's important to be ethical without actually feeling like I myself am ethical, or I can feel like I'm an ethical person, but not think it's important that everybody be ethical. Like, I wonder which one of those that is. If it's a personality factor, I guess either of those really would count. Akerlof and Cranton argue that identity may play a critical role which people derive positive utility. A psychological perspective would probably say if this is part of your identity, it's perceiving yourself as an ethical person. But considering this is economists and they're talking about positive utility, I can't tell. Falk and Szech. So this is the same author. This is the same second author as who was the first author of this paper? Is this the same two authors? No, it's not the same two authors. But at least it shares an author with this paper. Demonstrate that people care about their moral identity. Yeah. I should get my friend on who does stuff about moral identity and stuff. Jokes on the study, I would donate no matter what because I'd feel guilty if I didn't unless they needed cash because I don't carry cash. Understandable. Oh no, this is a factor as in math. I wouldn't put it past economists. However, maybe fulfilling one ethical aspect is sufficient for a decent moral identity and a positive self-image. So, okay, so this is specifically believing that you are an ethical person and then reinforcing that through your behavior or validating that part of your identity through engaging in ethical behaviors like purchasing environmentally friendly products or donating to a humanitarian cause. Knowledge of these effects would be a crucial first step to discussing social implications. Therefore, we incentivize new independent subjects to predict the behavior of our subjects in our original product choice treatments. So they're taking other participants and saying, hey, what do you think people would do in this situation? So they're taking the personal identity out of it. They're just asking, what do you think other people would do here? Our data shows that these outsiders are completely unaware of the effects of static moral self-licensing. Annoyed they didn't define static versus dynamic moral licensing. They should have defined those things. Why aren't they? That's a jerk move. That's not good. Static moral licensing. Are they the only ones? The first result for static moral licensing is this paper. Are they the only one? The only people I see using this are them. They've mentioned dynamic, but they have not defined it. Oh my god, this really annoys me. The only people I am seeing using the term static self-licensing are the authors of this paper. And they never define it. They never define it. If they're the ones coining this term, it's all the more important that they bother to define it. Why aren't they defining it? That pisses me off. That's bad writing. Why assume that I know what you mean? Is this like an economics thing, maybe? Maybe there's like some inherent meaning to static versus dynamic, specifically in economics for this type of behavior that I'm not aware of because I'm not an economist. But like, you should be defining these terms. Did they ever define moral licensing? Like, I know what moral licensing is. But did they define moral licensing? Are they just not defining their key terms? Not from scanning it. You got a license for that moral? Static moral licensing liquid. Oh my gosh. This is upsetting, but if it's a known term, it would show up in other people's works. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. And like, I'm not saying I'm an expert on moral licensing, but I have a friend who is an expert on moral licensing. And because of that, I've been in a lot of discussions about it, and I've read some papers on it, and I've never heard this phrase before. So like, it could be that just I'm not deep enough in it to have heard it, but but the ball decides it's not because there's already stuck to the wall earlier. Hopefully they'll define it later. I hope they'll define it later, but really they should define the term when they first use it, ideally. Like, maybe not in the abstract, but at least the first time they use it in the introduction. Especially if they're differentiating between dynamic and static. They should at least tell us what they are and what the difference between them is. Oh, I don't like that. Not defining moral licensing seems passable, but static things. Yeah. Just scream static versus dynamic licensing at them with no explanation and try to read your friend's response. Could I text her right now? I admit, I haven't texted her in years, so suddenly texting her and being like, static versus dynamic moral self-licensing, I don't know how she would react to that on a work night, no less. Skimming back through the intro, they describe the effect and then saying this would create some sort of static self, and then say, in comparison to the well-known dynamic. Dynamic moral self-licensing. So moral self-licensing, we know what that is. Self-licensing. The first result for dynamic moral self-licensing is this paper. Should I start, like... The first result is this paper. The effect, the well-known more dynamic self-licensing. I think this might be the same people. No, this is the figure from the paper. That's the paper again. This one's from 2021, so it's more recent, and it's different authors. Does this tell us what dynamic? Wait, it's not actually in there. Just ask if she's heard of it. Tempting. Static self-licensing and... Here's a blog. Kevin Lewis. Static moral self-licensing effects. Okay. Choosing a product that fulfills... No, this is just the paper again! This is the paper again! It's the same... I and this is the same, it's just that this looks like it's the same paper again. Okay, so this is in climate related behavior. Static. Dynamic. It's not in there. It's not in there. Oh my god. Okay. No, this is the same paper. think we need to run into the economics building, not the psychology. I'm gonna send a Discord. I'm not gonna send a message to that friend, because it feels awkward when I haven't talked to her in a very long time. But I'm gonna send a message to another friend I have that's an expert on moral psychology, not this particular field of moral psychology, but like moral psychology more generally. And I'm gonna ask her, hey, do you know the difference between static and dynamic moral self-licensing? If so, what is it? If not, have you ever heard of these terms? Okay. My best guess is that the dynamic moral self-licensing takes a more active tally of the good you do and the harm you do, while static implies that the good you've done will always justify the bad. I think that makes a lot of sense, Playmaker. I think that makes sense. So, like, dynamic is more situation by situation, whereas static is a much more long-term sort of thing. Maybe just viewing yourself as a good person, having a self-image that you are a good person and therefore you are allowed to do bad things, whereas dynamic is more of like having a ledger of individual good and bad things you've done. I think that would make sense. I just wish they would tell us. Okay, I don't know if my friend's online right now, but I'm gonna keep an eye on my Discord to see if she responds to this. The difference between static and dynamic variance can be found on the back side of the napkin handed out the person at the North Estonian Economics Conference of 2002. You know what? I bet it's that the difference between static and dynamic variance is either only specifically when they present this work at conferences, or it's like something that they talked about so much in their individual lab meetings and stuff that they just kind of assumed it was common parlance. And you know, a guy or gal. Yeah, I know a lot of moral psychologists. I was raised partially by moral psychologists, so I happen to know a lot of moral psychologists, as it so happens. Is Estonia big enough to have a north, or is North Estonia just Finland? I mean, my personal opinion is that Estonia is big enough to have a north, but then again, I've never been to Eastern Europe, so I don't know. And I don't know what counts as like a big or a small country for Europe outside of assuming that Liechtenstein is considered small and that like Russia is considered big. Like being from the US has thrown my sense of country scale completely out of whack relative to Europe. Never been, but I have a friend whose family lives there. Nice. Like, I can find Estonia on a map, and I know what Estonia generally looks like and stuff like that, and have some general information of about Estonia in my head, but, like, yeah, I don't have specifics. Estonia has a goat of a flag. Yeah, I love Estonia's flag. It has such nice colors, and it's so, like, simple. It's not, like, overcomplicated. It's got great colors. Yeah, the black, blue, and white is so pretty. No. No, I'm not gonna try it. I don't dare try and pronounce that. But Estonia flag. Have you seen it? Estonia's flag is so pretty. Look at this. Look at it. That's an awesome flag. I love that. That is such a good flag. Okay, my words per minute is going down as we speak. Mordecai. Mordecai. I feel like I'm scared to. I'm culturally deprived. 10 out of 10 flag. Absolutely 10 out of 10 flag. It would go very high on my ranking of flags. For sure. For sure. Okay. Potentially outsiders follow a different moral compass and consider different product facets and contexts over time, and as what are namely unrelated regarding consequences. Thus, outsiders do not anticipate that subjects, when weighing self-interest against something morally relevant, may prefer to find some type of moral excuse for self-oriented behavior. Okay. I'm this close to printing out pamphlets in the econ building saying contact me if you know what's self-licensing. There's the color palette of Mordecai from the regular. Oh! See, I grew up without, like, Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network, so I'm unfamiliar with this. Yeah, I've heard of the regular show, and I know what Estonia looks like in Italia. No comment. And the thing is, one of these authors, the corresponding author on this paper, unfortunately passed away in 2020. So we can't ask her. We can't ask her. Actually, for the last check, it has risen by 1. Hmm. Oh, it's risen! Oh, cool. Wait, where was I? Shoot, I lost my place. I think it was 2023. Oh, 2023? Huh. Nora. Is that it? Until 2023. Aw. Oh, that's so sad. Let's see. What about this other author? Janice Engel. Are you alive? What is this man's research area? Is this the same Janice Engel? What is your research area, sir? Who are you? This can't be the same guy. There's no way this is the same guy. Yeah, no, that's definitely not the same Janice Engel. How many Janice Engels are there? He's the guy that knows what static denial self-licensing mean. Exactly. Are you this guy? So this was published in 2017, I believe. No, it's a different guy. Who are you, Janice Engel? This is a different Janice Engel. The forbidden knowledge. Anyway, okay. All right, let's just get back to the paper. Okay, the question arises as to whether self-attribution is crucial for small moral excuses we identify. Therefore, we run 2 additional treatments identical to the original product choice treatments, respectively with 1 difference. The instructions stress and visually illustrate that it is perfectly random whether a subject makes decisions about towels made from conventional or... So they're informing the participants of the manipulation. That's not something we would typically do in psychology, because participants start acting really weird when they guess your hypothesis, because there's this thing called demand characteristics, where participants, if they think they know what you're trying to do, they can start acting in weird ways. So like if they guess what your study design is, when they guess your hypothesis, some participants will feel like they need to give you the results that you're expecting. A smaller number, but not non-existent number of participants will try and give you weird results that are the opposite of what you're expecting. So typically in this type of design, a between subjects design, we would not want the other participant, the participants to be aware of what the other conditions are in most cases. So it's interesting. I must please them versus let's screw with them. Yeah, exactly. And both of those are responses that I have seen in my own data. So we try to be very careful not to let participants know what the other condition is, but it seems like they are intentionally telling participants what the other condition is. That's weird. I mean, I guess they're saying like they're making it salient that some towels are not made with organic cotton and other towels are, which I guess makes sense. And they could have set up a paradigm where a person chooses between the 2 towels, one that's organic and one's not. But I guess that would have complicated their data analysis a bit. It just seems weird. It's not how I would have done it. That doesn't mean it's wrong. I'm just not quite understanding it. Maybe they'll explain why they did it this way in the methods, or maybe this is just an economist thing. I don't know. In this manner, organic cotton may become a less valued self-attributable excuse to not... Oh! Oh, that... I should have kept reading. That's it. That explains it. So they did it specifically because in study 1, the person felt like they had agency over choosing the more ethical towel. Here, they're making it clear that this person has no agency in choosing whether they have the ethical or unethical choice. And they're seeing that even though this person had no agency in choosing the ethical or unethical choice, does that still affect their behavior? Does that still play into this moral licensing of, I did a good thing and therefore I'm allowed to either not do a good thing or just straight up do a bad thing in the future? Ah, interesting, interesting. That's a neat little strategy. Studies of economic institutions in which agents make morally relevant decisions are pressing and strongly growing field within economics. So just like, this is important, publish us, people care about this. Our results indicate that consumers' moral excuses should receive specific attention and follow-up research. So yeah, this is important, pay attention. That's all this is saying. All right, literature. That wasn't even the literature review. Maybe this is where we're gonna. Maybe they're gonna define it here. Ethical towel, yeah. Our results relate to classic moral self-licensing effect. However, we explore a static decision context, whereas classical literature on moral licensing is focused on dynamic effects only. Okay, tell us what that means. Researchers have documented that ethical behavior in the past serves as a justification to act less ethically later. Such dynamic moral self-licensing was first described by Monin and Miller in the context, Journal of Personality and Social Psych, JPSP. Very good journal. That's one of the top journals in social psych. In the context of racism and sexism in a two-stage experiment, subjects had to make hypothetical job decision that in a neutrally framed environment, in one treatment group, the best applicant was African American, in the other group, the best applicant was white. After making their decision, all subjects were confronted with another hypothetical scenario. A chief of police is to hire a new deputy in a racially charged job environment. All the subjects were asked to rate whether the job was better suited for a white or a black person. Subjects with the opportunity to present themselves as non-prejudiced before were significantly more likely to prefer a white person now. So they said, we did our diversity hire, now we can, which is, a really horrible way to think about it, but we did the thing, we hired a black person then, so we don't have to hire another black person. I don't know if I agree that that necessarily supports the conclusion of moral licensing. It could just be they're like, I just want to give whichever group didn't have the previous opportunity this opportunity, and maybe some people were thinking of that in terms of moral licensing, but maybe other people were just like, I don't want to always be favoring the same group, so I'm just going to switch. Hard to say. Maybe if we read the original study, maybe we'd learn more. Thus, subjects who could demonstrate they were not racist in the first step tend to prefer the white police applicant. See, I'm not sure if I agree with that. I'm not sure if that's the only explanation for those results, but I mean, I could be wrong. A second study by Monin and Miller yielded similar findings in the field of sexism. And again, if they are using the same paradigm, I feel like that is one possible explanation for those results, certainly, but it's not the only possible explanation for those results. That's kind of how I'm feeling about this, if that makes sense. Sakdeva et al. Found that subjects use dynamic moral self-licensing to justify selfish behavior. What is dynamic moral self-licensing? Subjects asked to write positive short stories on their past good deeds were later observed to be more selfish than others in regards to making a real donation to charity. So they have observed what they've done in the past, and because they did good things in the past, they feel like they don't have to do good things now. They're like, I've done my thing. I've done my time. I've made my good contribution. Therefore, I don't need to do it now. What's good, y'all? Hey, Inks! Welcome, welcome! We are reading a paper on moral self-licensing in product consumption. So does buying an ethical product now make you less likely to buy ethical product later or do an ethical thing later because you've already done the ethical thing? So you don't need to do more ethical things. You've done the good thing. You don't need to do more good things. That's the kind of idea. We're doing ethics, so we're trying to figure out what's good. I'm not making any moral judgments here. I'm not making any moral judgments. I am not qualified to be an arbiter of what is good and what is bad. That is not what I'm not a philosopher. In a related study, Mazar and Zhang demonstrated that subjects who acquired green products, so environmentally friendly products, in the first step are more likely to cheat for personal gain and steal later, compared with subjects who could only acquire conventional products in the first step. So they feel like, I got an environmentally friendly thing. I've done a good thing. Done a good deed by being environmentally friendly. So now I can be bad to people. I don't know, just moral licensing as a thing just feels very silly to me. Like, karma banking. Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. Moral licensing is basically karma banking. Yeah. I've never heard that term before, but it fits very, very well as a descriptive of what's going on here. For more examples of dynamic moral self-licensing, see Marin et al. What makes this dynamic versus static? Maybe the difference is in these cases it was their choice to do the good deed first and then they didn't do it, and then their definition of static here is that it's a choice that you were kind of forced into. I'm actually printing the flyer now. I don't want to bother economists. We shouldn't poke the economist nest, proverbial nest. We must be nice. And I bought Girl Scouts cookies, so now I'm going to aimbot to get a higher tier. Exactly. That would be very consistent with this. It's like that stupid you get a free pass thing when people do in marriages where they want to cheat. Yeah, it's kind of like that or something. Maybe. I wonder. I'm trying to think of like specifically how that scenario would work out in this context. Like, I did the groceries and like I took out the garbage and therefore I get to kiss someone else. From professional to graphic design is my passion. What quality of I do want to see the flyers. Like, if you make a flyer, I want to see the flyer. But it's possible we're about to get our answer, and I really don't want to bother economists. They have a lot going on right now, so let's be nice to the economists, but I am curious about the flyer. Another closely related concept from the field of behavioral economics is conscience accounting, proposed by Gnesi. This also sounds like karmic bank. Oh, thank you. I really want to see it. In the first stage of their experiment, subjects would lie to increase their profit at the expense of fellow players. So they're doing something, I guess it's more like I'm letting you do it so I can excuse me doing it. Oh. Oh, that's an interesting thought. Oh, I'm just putting it there. Oh, sounds great. Sounds good. Looking forward to it. Okay. In stage 2, participants had the opportunity to make a small donation to charity. So they had done something bad, or they gave these people an opportunity to lie, to do something ethically questionable, and then they gave them an opportunity to do something ethically good. The authors observed, so they've swapped the order that most of the other studies they're talking about have done. Most of the other studies they've talked about, you do something good first and then see if people do something questionable later. This, they're doing something questionable first and then seeing if they do something good later. The authors observed the share of donations was higher among the subjects who lied in stage 1. And then the share than those who told the truth. So people who chose to do something bad then did something good. It's like moral accounting. Yeah. That's what they called it, right? Yeah, conscience accounting. So if you did something bad, you want to balance it out by doing something good here. And then in the other studies, it's like if you did something good, now you can afford to do something bad. It's like, I didn't spend money on this, so now I can spend money on that. Or I spent money on that, so now I've got to save my money here, except morality. This is when you learn the great Janice Engel works at your university. And scream. Hey, Scarling, Mikhail Ore? Welcome, come on in. Happy to have you. We are reading a paper on moral licensing, which is about how people feel like if I've done a good thing now, I don't have to do the good thing later. Or maybe even I can afford to do a bad thing later because I did a good thing now. And this is specifically in the context of like buying stuff. So like I bought a green, environmentally friendly product now. So I can either ignore questionable things about this product. So like it's environmentally friendly, so I don't need to pay attention to this company treats its workers horribly. Or I did an environmentally friendly thing. I bought an environmentally friendly thing, so that means I don't have to donate to charity later because I've done my good deed for the day. That kind of thing. Okay, I've got a response from my friend, my moral psychologist friend. She says, I unfortunately have not heard of the different types of self-licensing. I'm sorry. More evidence! Sorry, okay, so to give you context, if you just dropped in, I'm going on a cruise because you have an electric car. Exactly, yeah, I have an electric car, therefore I can go on a cruise. I haven't really come across moral licensing much in my own reading and research, though I broadly know what it is as a general concept. Fair enough. I do only do good things. I'm a perfect reading is too much work. Here, take a box full of red flags. I'm happy to show. Oh, no. I'm gonna at least tell my friend what we're doing. Oh, cool. What are you doing that involves it? I'm reading a paper with some people, and they mention these things. I've never heard of them. The paper doesn't define them. And Google only spits out this paper whenever I search for them. The plot thickens, exactly. Exactly. Oh my gosh, this is a weirdly wild ride. Oh man. Okay. Let's keep going. Okay. Suggest that by donating, subjects atone for past moral norms violations. So they know they've done something wrong and they're atoning by donating to charity. Word per minute typed up makes WPM red on stream. It makes up for exactly. If my words per minute reading is slow, I can make up for that by typing really fast. Typing self-licensing. But is this dynamic or static typing self-licensing? If my theory is right, if my guess is right, I think that would be dynamic. I think dynamic is when you make a choice, and static is when you're forced into a specific circumstance, is my guess. But let's see if this aligns with what they're saying. A possible explanation of this finding is that the memory of an individual's own unethical behavior. Oh wait, furthermore, the share of donations among the liars decreases significantly if the time delay between the two stages increases. So they donate to make up for lying, but if there's a big pause between when they lied and when they're asked to donate, they slow down. Speaking of words per minute, 21.7. Is that down or up from the last one? I think that's down from the last chicken. Oh no. Oh no, I thought I was gonna try and go faster, and I am failing miserably. We really need to create like some sort of thing that keeps track of the words per minute on screen. It looks like the last word per minute I found in chat is like, oh yeah, I'm up by 4 words per minute. We do need a graph. I would love that. Okay. A possible explanation for this finding is that the memory of an individual's own unethical behaviors fades over time. So, or maybe the need to atone fades over time because it feels more distant, or maybe you feel like a different person as time passes. Another finding is that subjects are more likely to lie if they know they have the opportunity to donate later. Oh, that's interesting. People are more likely to engage unethical behavior if they feel the need to, if they know they can engage in ethical behavior later. Ooh, I made an Excel spreadsheet, but so far it's only 3 data points. Oh my gosh, Astral, I appreciate you. This is gonna be fun. You know that you have no obligation to do this, but I do definitely find it entertaining. This leads to the conclusion that people set off their future ethical behaviors against their current ethical behavior, or set off offset. Yeah, this is super interesting stuff. This is really neat. Oh, hello, Mr. Kitty. It's printing. Oh my god. Mr. Kitty, you still have 8 minutes until Din Din. He must be patient. He must be patient, Mr. Kitty. I appreciate you and I love you. But just wait. Wait another 8 minutes for Din Din. 7 minutes. Wait 7 minutes for Din Din, Mr. Kitty. Okay. Oh, that's interesting, that knowing you can do something good can affect actions. It's right! Isn't that interesting? I mean, I hadn't heard that before. I've only really heard of moral license. Well, I have heard this before, but in the opposite way, that doing something good now makes you feel like you can do something bad in the future, but I've never heard the doing something bad now makes you feel compelled to do something good in the future, at least in terms of like, I've heard of it anecdotally, but not like in a research paper, so that's kind of neat. I mean, of course, I'm not an expert in this area, but it is interesting. This leads to the conclusion. 11 mega words per year. This leads to the conclusion that people set off their future ethical behavior against their current what is it, Mr. Kitty? Oh my god. And this conclusion is in line with the idea that all types of moral behavior may load on one aspect of personality if subjects can attribute those moral improvements to themselves. So they're saying like any moral actions in any context are all judged in the same ledger. It's not like environmental morality is in a separate ledger from like lying and cheating is in a separate ledger from whatever. The cat does hunger. Mr. Kitty, I know you have kibble. I checked your bowl before stream. I know you have kibble, Mr. Kitty. I love you too, Mr. Kitty. You're a good boy. Okay. 6 minutes, Mr. Kitty. 6 minutes and I'll take a break and give you some chomps, okay? You're such a good boy. You're such a good boy. Okay. So there is a balancing behavior working both ways in terms of good and bad. Yeah, that's what it seems like. Based on this literature review, it seems the balancing goes both ways, which is super neat. Because I'd only ever heard of it in one direction, but it seems like there's evidence for both directions, which is really cool. Okay. The authors also documented that a comparatively cheap future possibility of compensation might be sufficient for subjects to maintain high moral self-image. So even if the good you do isn't nearly as much good, like, let's say I do a big bad thing and a small good thing, I might still see those as evening out. So maybe the magnitude of the good and bad doesn't matter, it's just the raw number of good things versus bad things I've done. If you feed the cat earlier, it means you won't feel bad about not feeding the cat later. False. That's true. Cats are immune. Cats are in a blind spot for moral licensing. Isn't that right, Mr. Kitty? You are above good and evil, aren't you? Oh, my sweetie boy. Oh my gosh. All right. What differentiates this approach from ours is that in product treatment, subjects make decisions on the static moral... Oh! Okay, is this their definition? The static moral improvement, the upgrade to the fair wear towel at the dispense of different monetary amounts in a price list. I don't understand. The cat decides what is good or evil, usually. This is true. Hey, Water Knight, how you doing? How you doing? They do not know which of their decisions the computer will randomly select when they decide to donate the money to refugees a half an hour later. Okay, so it is what I thought. It is what I thought. Static moral self-licensing is when they do an action, but they don't know, like, they are assigned to the good or bad action. They are not the ones who determine whether they do good or bad. Some other thing determines whether they do good or bad. So dynamic moral self-licensing, it's all based on your own choices and decisions. Static moral self-licensing is based on, I ended up in a situation where what I did was not as ethically good as the alternative. I did not make that choice, but I still engaged in that, willingly or unwillingly. So even if you, let's say, like, I'm guessing, like, maybe, like, let's say I buy something from a company, and then I later find out that that company is actually, like, evil. Oh my god, Steven time, please. Please. Oh my gosh. Oh, Kitty, are you taking out your anger on the couch? Understandable. The couch is the reason everything's bad. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. Yeah, so, like, yeah, you purchase something from a company, you later find out that the company is, like, they kick babies or something like that. So you bought something from a company, you didn't realize this was an unethical thing when you bought it, like the product is made out of baby's tears or something like that, and you didn't realize that when you bought it, you only find out after, so it wasn't a conscious choice that you bought this thing that was produced unethically, but you still feel compelled to balance your moral ledger. Oh, that's interesting. That's neat. If I'm interpreting this correctly. They do not know which of their decisions the computer will... Okay. Moreover, the subjects are unaware of the opportunity to make a donation beforehand, so they do not know that they will have a chance to make up for this. This design enables subjects to focus on whether deciding about towels made from organic instead of conventional cotton is sufficient to care less about ethically relevant aspects. Wait, are they... I'm confused. Design of the study. Maybe this will clear it up for us. The design of the study, this will solve it. This will crack the case. This will crack the case. We will understand now. Yes, Mr. Kitty. 1 minute. 1 minute, Mr. Kitty. 1 minute. Just the one. You are so close, you can almost taste it. It's true. Actually, we're at a good stopping point, so maybe I should go feed the kitty right now. Is she? Yes, Mr. Kitty. Okay, I might not be able to get... Yeah, that's understandable. It's definitely after hours. They might have locked up. I am going to be right back, and I am going to feed Mr. Kitty, and then I will return. Yeah, it's late where I am, too. I am going to be... This shouldn't take, like... This should only be, like, a minute. So I will be using some totally rigorous and not at all assumption-laden maths. You read it. That's too many zeros. That's too many. By the time he gets the food, it will be time. Yes, this is true. Okay, question. How does that balance apply when one follows a militant moral code? So if you're always doing what is morally correct, then I think this kind of assumption is, like, moot at that point. If you're always doing what's morally correct, then you're never doing immoral actions. Of course, this moral correct is, like, subjective. Other people have different moral codes, so if you think that every single action you take is morally correct, you're probably fine. But sometimes you might be tricked into doing something immoral, at which point you probably will still feel the need to make up with it with some moral thing. So, like, even if you are intentionally being moral all the time, but you are tricked into doing something immoral, I imagine this would still hold, that you would still feel the need to make up for it by doing an extra ethical behavior that you wouldn't have done otherwise. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm gonna go feed the cat before he bites my head off. I'm gonna switch back to the loading screen real fast, and then, it should be about a minute. The missile has been fed. Heavy. Oh, hey, Cleo. Hello, Cleo and Ina. You also read it across. Okay. Yeah. The end justifies the means sounds like a very closed avenue, though. Like, there is no room for any balance. Either you do or you don't, is what I believe it works like. Yeah. It's complicated. So this is all based on your personal perception of whether what you've done is good or bad. It doesn't matter what other people think or what, like, if there is an objective morality, it doesn't matter what the objective morality is. It's all about your perception. So if you think that anything you do is objectively morally right, or if you think that you are not morally culpable for your mistakes, then I don't think this would kick in. It's only if you personally believe that you have done something bad. So if you believe the ends justify the means, if you believe that doing this bad thing is in service of a good thing, if it's in service of a good thing, that makes it also morally acceptable, this wouldn't kick in, I don't think. It's all based on your own self-perceptions of morality. Of course, for the purposes of the study, they're just assuming that people agree that consuming environmentally friendly products is more ethical. I hope they measured that, actually, because that's an important individual difference. If the people don't perceive this as ethical or unethical or more or less ethical than the other, that would be a fundamental flaw with their experimental design if a lot of their participants are like that. So I hope they did a manipulation check to make sure that people perceived the organic or, like, the environmentally friendlier towel as actually a more ethical choice than the standard towel, because that's kind of what the whole study design is hinging on, really. Yeah, it is complicated. Human beings are complicated. People are complicated. The way people think is very strange, and that's why I have a job. Pros and cons, you know? Alright. So we explore the effects of moral self-licensing across different ethical facets in purchase decisions and across different points in time, blah, blah, blah. To this end, we implement a product choice regarding different towels and a subsequent donation situation. In addition to behavior, we study beliefs of outsiders about the behavior of the decision makers to analyze whether beliefs of outsiders are in line with real choice behavior. So do people's actions correspond to what other people think they will do? Are people accurately predicting others' behavior? Therefore, we conduct 4 treatments. So they have 4 conditions. Product control. So this is just the standard. Have you watched Fate? Because there's a good video on morality and justice in that show. It's very cool. Have I watched Fate? Have I watched Fate? You have no way to know this. I don't know why I'm acting like you have any reason to know this. I have watched every single Fate anime. I have read most of Fate Strange Fake. I've read all of Fate Zero. I've read the novels. I've read all of Fate Apocrypha. I have played all of Fate Grand Order. I'm current on both the English server and the Japanese server. I've watched Fate. Sorry, Fate has been like my biggest fandom for roughly a decade now. It's scary. Yeah, Mori and I met through the Fate fandom. Like, how long ago? 7, 8 years ago? Have you watched Otaku Daikun videos? I think I've watched a few of them. I think. I'm not good at remembering this stuff, but I probably have. I will have to watch, because there's like, especially with like Emiya and Shiro, there's a lot of interesting discussions of morality and like, does the ends justify the means and all that stuff. Morality and Fate, just because you're correct doesn't mean you're right, Fate. It is how we met. We met in the Fate fandom so many years ago. Okay, bad news, your phone died. I'm on laptop. Oh, I'm sorry. Welcome back. Yeah, I love Fate. I have some videos on my channel discussing psychological concepts that show up in Fate Grand Order, actually. It would be fun to do another video on moral foundations theory with Fate protagonists and talking about how it changed. You're inside the... This sounds like an infiltration xenotype. The one about justice is the one I'm referring to in the article. That sounds interesting. I'm gonna joke about that being a lot, but then I remembered all classic and new Doctor Who, so I'm not one to go. Yeah, no, there's a lot of franchises that go that far. If you're into Doctor Who, you got xenotype. It must be done. We must get the. Yes, most doors were locked, but I am the other. I get that. The thing about campus buildings, maybe I shouldn't say that. I don't know, but yeah, like there's so many doors, and usually they leave like 1 or 2 unlocked for like people to get in. So just because one door's locked doesn't mean that all of them will be locked. But sometimes it does. It was March 2017, the 15th. Our meeting anniversary is this Saturday. Oh, we will have to celebrate. We will have to celebrate somehow. I don't know how. Speaking of 15th, this Saturday, Psy is doing a very special stream on Twitch this Saturday that I feel I should mention. I may or may not make an appearance in that stream. Okay, right. Words per minute. We're gonna do it. Oh, that's also when the model made for Psy's. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This Saturday, Psy is revealing something special, and some of the people in this chat know exactly what that is. Because people who watch me know what Psy's secret is. People who don't watch me do not know what Psy's secret is. So it'll be a surprise for some, but not for others. Skyrim skill increase, lock picking. Please don't pick locks. I'm pretty sure that's illegal. As cool as a skill, I did teach myself to pick locks when I was little, and I thought I was so cool. I haven't tried recently, though. Probably for the best. I could pick locks in my own home. That's not illegal, right? You did not pick a lock. Good. So now we have 2 types of people, huh? Yeah, we have 2 types of people. This is a factor. It is a nominal variable. I did enjoy going, wow, I totally have no idea what this is in Psy's. Me too. I've been going in Psy's Discord like, Bunny Psy? Ah, are those horns on your head? As if I didn't draw it. Just found a door that leads to a lecture hall. Oh no. It is cool. He's bunny. Marlon, hey! Sorry, somehow it didn't occur to me. I didn't notice. Welcome, Marlon. I'm sorry. We're slowly, very slowly reading this paper on moral licensing. The idea that when you kind of have kind of a moral ledger. So if you do a good thing, you feel like you can justify doing a bad thing later, or if you do a bad thing, you feel like you have to do a good thing to sort of balance the scales, kind of deal. Um, yeah. Moral accounting. So it's something about ethical towel and evil towel. Yeah. So the product control is just a normal towel. The product organic is the towel made with organic cotton, the idea being that this is more environmentally friendly and therefore more ethical. Belief control and belief organic, I'm not sure what that is. Maybe they have like, this is what the towel actually is, and this is what the person believes the towel is. I'm not sure. Let's find out. For someone to testify in your trespassing trial, will the courts cover the transport? Everything's on Zoom nowadays, I think. Which means we can use our OBS virtual cameras. I'm lost in the anthropology department. The anthropology department is the scariest place to get lost. I've gotten lost in my university's anthropology department, and you're just walking around and there's skulls everywhere. Greenwash towels, maybe. Oh yeah, maybe greenwash towels. Darn, no free holiday. In our experiment, we employed towels for following 3 reasons. So yeah, why towels of all things? Help? I'm sorry, I cannot help you. I don't know how to help you. You know, there's that trick to get out of a maze, assuming the maze is like doesn't have any disconnected parts. Just keep your hand on the left wall and just keep following the left wall, and eventually you'll get to the exit. I helped. That's my assistance. That's how I navigate caves in Minecraft. I just like keep following the left wall of the cave. Doesn't always work very well, but oh well. Doesn't work as well in 3 dimensions. Towels are imagined to be relatively regular in demand across other factors compared to other textile items, seemingly. Huh. Yeah. U.S. fashion industry is in the trillions in US dollars, encompassing a wide variety of companies, employs over 57 million people worldwide. This sector is a critical industry sector because people wear clothes. Wait, it's the left. Oof. Right would also work. I think as long as you pick a side and stick to it, it's fine. Red flag can indeed be made with towels. This is also correct. Second, the bulk of production occurs in developing and newly industrialized countries like China, India, Vietnam, and Bangladesh, and the textile industry has often been the focus of consumers' demand for improved production standards. Yeah, because there's often a lot of like very low wages, unsafe working conditions and things like that in the textile industry. There's been a lot of reporting on this. I don't know when caving, I made sure to stick torches on only one side. That's what I do too, Marlon. Yeah. Couldn't be me to go to the orienteering fair. And then I use that to orient myself as I move. Yeah, me too. Me too, Marlon. You know, the thing is, I'm playing on a server recently with some other people that you may know. And the other people that you may know just put their torches in the middle of the path. And it drives me mildly crazy. It drives me mildly crazy. I get so lost constantly because of this. But, you know, like, I'm not gonna... I mean, middle doesn't cause confusion. It causes confusion for me. I do that too, didn't realize it until now. Yeah, nice! I learned about it in a YouTube video. Good job, Zeno Time. And sometimes you have to do it so you don't have dark spots. That is true. Yeah, like if you're in a particularly wide cave, you absolutely have to do it to avoid dark spots. So that's unavoidable. But I'm talking like the narrow ones. Like if I'm trying to find my way back out, normally I can just say, oh, well, I put all the torches on the left, so I just gotta go down the path where the torches are on my right to retrace my steps. And then like if the torch is in the middle, I don't know which way to go. But it's possible that they have some sort of system for navigating that I'm not aware of. I should just ask them. I should ask them how they navigate caves, or if that's something that they consider, or if they just kind of go like YOLO, zoom, zoom. I don't know. Okay. Third, we specifically used a product that we hoped most subjects would find useful. So like most people would have a use for this and want to buy it. I guess I didn't know how extensive the middle torches are. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Like they exclusively... Or... They seem to place torches basically at random. I haven't found a pattern to how they place torches. Occasionally I put one in the middle down if it suits them all, but I usually stick to... Me too. Me too. Like if it's a big space or something like that, I'll put one down in the middle, but like I try and stick to the walls for navigation purposes. Or like if I put one in the middle, I have like the bulk of them on the walls, and then like I put as few as I can afford to and still light the place up in the middle. That way it doesn't hurt my navigation. But from what I've seen from other people, it's a bit more random. And it could be that they just have a system that I'm not aware of, but I still put standing torches near wall torches for dark spots if near wall, just mean opposite direction. The wall torch is designed to direct me. Ooh, I see, I see. The torch god would be... There's a torch... What angers the torch god? I don't want the torch god to be angry. Is it more ethical to make your torches out of coal or charcoal? I would argue coal, because charcoal requires you to chop down trees to acquire it in Minecraft, whereas coal is already just in the ground. And you don't have to chop down any organic things to get it. I make door frames out of wood to guide me in caves, and if I run out of torches and emergency material laying around in caves for me to scrap. Smart! Smart, smart, yeah. Anyway, okay. Words per minute, words per minute. Okay. Therefore, subjects made decisions about towels in neutral colors. So basically the idea that this should be equally desirable to everybody. Like if they had used shirts, like different people have different senses of styles, there's different expectations for what type of clothing different genders should wear and that kind of thing. Towels seem like something that everybody would use and that everybody should be roughly equally interested in. Okay, so here's their first independent variable, their first factor. This is a two-factor design. Product treatments. Product control and product organic. Subjects were made ethically relevant product decisions. Subjects were randomized into two treatments. They choose between ethically different yet otherwise comparable towels. In the price list, they weighed money and receiving a more conventionally produced towel against receiving no money and a towel that fulfills a more ethical... This feels confounded. They're varying two different things in the same variable. This is confounded. Why are they doing this? I'm imagining Xenotime's currently in some horror game right now. That's what navigating university buildings after dark feels like. I don't know what to tell you. I wish Xenotime the best. Good luck out there, buddy. The subjects chose between towels in neutral colors in a standard medium size of okay. So the towels are identical. But see, this concerns me because they're varying two things in the same variable. They're varying both ethical sourcing of materials and how much money the towel costs. In one case, they get both the towel and the money, and in the other case, they get the towel and no money. So that's one thing that's different. And then one towel is ethical, has ethical production, and the other towel doesn't. Why are they varying two things? This is a confounded variable. They need to start writing an obituary for the Discord. No! No! Xenotime, get out of there alive, okay? This isn't worth your life. This is not worth your life. Oh my gosh. There isn't a, I don't have a Discord. So I'm in a group called V Theorem, which includes Phi the Neutrophil, who does a molecular and cellular biology, Sidere, who does psychology content on Twitch, Nepenthes VT, who does horticulture, botany, and entomology, so like studying insect stuff, and oh yeah, I guess, and Syzygy Altair, or Z, who does, like, physics and stuff. Oh, and Xenotime has a Discord. I'm not part of Xenotime's Discord. I might have to join that. Yeah, but, like, I don't have my own Discord. Maybe I should eventually, but I'm a very introverted person, and the responsibility of managing a Discord full of people that some who I know and some who I don't terrifies me. Is that pathetic? I don't know if it is. I'm the only member of V Theorem without a Discord. I probably should have a Discord, but I'm scared. Maybe I should take a vote, or maybe I can just say when I hit 500 subscribers, I'll make a Discord or something. It's up! All right, I will go find your Discord after the stream and go find it. All right. They choose between ethically, okay, yeah. Yeah, okay, I don't think this is good. In my personal belief, this is not good experimental design from my point of view as a psychologist, because they're varying two things in the same this is a confounded variable. So I don't like this much. Maybe that's normal. No, I put a link in chat. Oh, I don't. What makes it confounded? If there's a scenario where money's the same and then a second scenario with money being different. Because there's only two conditions. There's two conditions and they differ in more than one thing. Product control at least how they're, maybe I'm misunderstanding it. So they either have an ethical towel, but they get no money back, or an unethical towel, but they get money back. Which means that they're both varying whether the towel is ethically produced and whether you get money back, and it's not fully crossed, so we don't have the full combination. You only have ethical towel paired with no money and unethical towel paired with money. You don't have ethical towel paired with money and unethical towel paired with no money. Like, so I can't tell if any effects between these two conditions, if any differences between these two conditions is between getting money back or between the towel or what. There's a scenario where they get an ethical or an unethical towel with the same money across both. Oh, is there? I mean, I do wonder if you can have an ethical towel actually being ethical. That's right. Yeah, let's see. Okay, let me read. They choose between ethically different yet otherwise comparable towels. In the price list, they weighed money and receiving a more conventionally priced towel, produced towel. So the conventionally produced towel is not the one that is like special ethical stuff, against receiving no money. So yeah, they either get money and the ethically produced towel, or the normal towel, or no money and the towel that was made with environmentally friendly materials. I know an awful lot of expensive designer brands that use the same awful sweatshops. Yeah. The thing is, in terms of this, they're saying it's only ethical in one dimension. Both of them are produced under the same circumstances. So maybe they were both produced in sweatshops, but one used environmentally friendly material and the other one did not use environmentally friendly material. So like they only differ in like how so-called ethical they are on one aspect. They may be unethical on other aspects. What if you just want to buy the most expensive towel either way? I'm the type of person who I'd be like, I hesitate to admit this. I'm the type of person who would buy the less expensive towel either way, which I know is not great, but yeah, that's my concern, right? Like I can't tell if people are preferring one towel over the other because it's more ethical, or because it's more expensive, or because it's less expensive, or if it's some combination of ethics and price. I can't tell. Is there trying to separate the material aspect of money? Because that doesn't sound even feasible. I think, like, you can make them the same price, and one ethical and one not, because this is experimental. It's not, like, there's one person here and he's getting sus of me. Xenotol! I'm not thinking that hard about my towel choices, I'll be honest. That's fair. Yeah, I'm not, like, external. I'm often not, thinking that hard about... There are some things that I think about, though, like, I won't shop at certain stores and things like that for ethical reasons, or I won't buy certain products from certain companies for ethical reasons. But, like, I don't scrutinize every single thing I buy for ethics. Like, that's just not sustainable. So, I get you, Inks. I get you. Like, I do that for some things, but it's not sustainable to do that for everything, or even most things that you buy. You know? Like, it's just... not sustainable, and maybe towels is not the hill you want to die on, right? Money also has ethical weight put in balance. It's not just material exchange. That's true. That's true. There's a lot of factors here, and it's really noisy, which is why I think they should try and keep the money consistent, because the money varying itself might also, like, you might see, if I can save money, I'm willing to buy a more unethical product, versus if I have to spend more money, that might not be as, like, I might be less willing to buy the more, like, that's my problem with this. It's not keeping that, like, is it more realistic that the more, like, organic cotton would cost more? Yes. So that's, like, external validity. Typically, ethically sourced products do cost more for various reasons. So that is environmentally valid. That is like reflecting how we live our day-to-day lives and how we make day-to-day purchase decisions. But if you're trying to isolate specifically the ethical bit of this and whether that specifically makes an impact, you need to hold everything else constant, including price. Like, if price wasn't a factor, if price was exactly the same, ethics alone, what does that do? And that's the question they're trying to ask. Or you might not value the way it's more ethical. That's true. That's true. Like, maybe ethical labor is a hill you're willing to die on, but environment, you don't care. And I'm hoping that they measure how much people... This is... Moralization is the term of, like, how morally relevant you think a thing is, and I'm hoping they measure how much people moralize the environment, because I imagine that's an important factor here. Like, if I don't think being environmentally conscious is a moral issue, then then moral licensing shouldn't factor into this at all. If I do think being environmentally conscious is a moral issue, then I can expect to see moral licensing. But if they're not measuring that, they're kind of making it harder for themselves to find something. I heard plastic bags are sometimes greased with ceretic acid from animal fat in order to get them to not stick together. Ooh, I don't like that. That feels gross. At 200 UGC plus 0, 11th of March 2025, Xenotime was declared dead after being consumed in the halls of the Uni in pursuit of the forbidden knowledge. What is static moral self-licensing? Oh no! Oh no! If I see something cheaper and unethical and save me some money, I can have money to do something that would be more ethical than whatever amount of unethical value comes from the towel. That's kind of what they're saying here. It's like, I guess that would also play into it. I'm not sure if that's exactly what they're saying here, but I think Scarling, Michael, that's a really good point. Like, if I save money here and I don't care as much about the environment, I can put that money forward to a cause I do care more about. And there is kind of that aspect going on in this paper, in that first they're making this towel decision, then 30 minutes later they decide whether they want to donate money to refugees, like to a refugee crisis that was going on at the time. We dropped to 21 from 22. No. Yeah, so it could be that's actually a great alternate explanation for their results, because they've said that people who bought the organic towel were less likely to give to the refugees, and they're explaining that as moral licensing. But I think you're right that you can also explain that as they feel that they have more income to donate to the refugees, whereas because the organic towel costs more, they feel like they have less money to donate to the refugees here. And one way to get around that would be to like see like control for like how much money they actually have left over after both of the buying the towel and the donation. But actually they can't do that here because you have no money left. Okay, that's a major problem in their experimental design. If it's like the same money for the towel as it is for donating to the refugees, and they get no money if they pick the ethical towel, of course they're going to donate to the rest of the refugees because they have no money to donate. Are they explaining this badly, or is this a... So either they're explaining that, or like maybe I'm reading this badly. Maybe they're explaining this badly. Or that particular result means nothing. It's one of those three things. Either like I'm misinterpreting this, they're explaining it in a way that's not clear, or there was no other way that could have turned out because the people who chose the ethical towel had no money to donate, and therefore that's why they donated less, because they couldn't donate. Let's keep reading. Let's see. Maybe they'll answer that. What if they like put a pentagram or something on the towel and something else that like a particular kind of Christian would find unethical or similar? That's another interesting thing. I would love to see like weighing different types of ethics in here, and like, oh man, I'm thinking of a really cool project that a friend of mine did that used this. There's this like, she found this list of like various moral transgressions. Run, Xeno! Well, don't run because that could be suspicious, but get out of here, Xenotime. Be careful. Be careful. Oh my gosh. Yeah, like there's these people out there who created a list of like a whole bunch of moral violations. So things that are immoral, all the way from like I don't know, like sticking gum under a desk to like doing horrible atrocities, and they ranked them from most to least ethically offensive. And I don't know, I just think that's really interesting. I'm getting off track. You're right. Our words per minute are falling with everything that I say. So let's keep going. So now we got our second factor, belief treatments, and it has two levels: belief control and belief organic. Not returning the shopping cart to the collection area. Exactly. I love that example. The whole like the theory, the moral theory of shopping cart return. Like, I love that. That is a delight to me. I also use whether people return shopping carts as maybe not a terribly valid, but I use it as like a ballpark way of estimating people's moral character. I subscribe to shopping cart theory. Okay. We elicited in an incentivized manner outsiders' beliefs about the behavior of the subjects in the product control and product organic. So this is a separate sample. These are people predicting what the participants in the product treatments would do. The belief treatments provided information on what the uninvolved third parties who did not make the decisions predicted about the individuals involved. I feel like I could more easily rationalize someone killing me than not putting the cart back. I can excuse murdering me, but failing to return your shopping cart is completely unexcusable. I'm just saying, if you can't return your cart to the corral, you can't be expected to sell a cart. I agree. Oh no. Alright. Subjects were randomly assigned to the 2 belief treatments. Wait. The belief treatments provided information on who did not make predicted. This is vague as hell. For organizational reasons, randomization in the study was at the session level. So that means they would measure multiple people at once. Let's say I have 6 people to come into the lab at once, and all those 6 people are in the same condition. So rather than being randomized to condition individually, it's groups of people randomized to condition. Everybody who came in at the same time is in the same condition. So it's not like fully randomized. In all treatments, the instructions inform subjects of 2 ethically relevant dimensions of the production of textiles, such as towels. We focus on 2 separate aspects. First, the cotton would be conventional or certified organic. The idea being that organic is more ethical, which I'm sure, like, some people might disagree with, organic being more ethical, especially, like, if they know that the phrase organic is, like, kind of meaningless. Here we relied on the well-known global organic textile standard. They keep saying these things are well-known, and I don't think they're actually... Did any of you know about the global organic textile standard? Because I didn't. They also said that static and dynamic moral self-licensing were well-known, but I've never heard of them. My friend who's an expert in moral psychology has never heard of them. And the only people we could find talking about them on Google are these authors. Why they keep saying well-known? I don't know that these things are actually well-known. There's an XQC comic about this. Well, that tells us nobody in my household knows that, right? Right? I mean, maybe it's well-known. This is an economics paper, so it could be that this is a well-known concept in economics, and they're writing for an audience of economists, so it could be that it's well-known within their audience, but not among, like, not outside of the economic bubble. And the organic content standard would certify the organic origin of content. How? Well, that's a separate issue. That's not the point here. All subjects knew from the instructions that the certified organic cotton was produced without the use of agrochemicals such as synthetic pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers commonly used in conventional production and that pollute the soil. So basically, they're determining that one towel is more ethical because it was produced without pollutants. The other... According to Google, the GOTS exists, so that's a plus. Good. Unlike static and dynamic moral self-licensing, this one, we have independent confirmation that it exists. Second, the manufacturing conditions under which workers must work when sewing the towel can be certified by the well-established Fair Wear Foundation or not. The Fair Wear Foundation is a well-established independent nonprofit organization that aims to improve labor standards in factories based on the conventions of the Industrial Labor Organization. Subjects were informed that under the Fair Working Conditions, Safety, and Economic Living Standards and political rights, so these benefits are not guaranteed in conventional production. Indeed, on the topic of values, textile and garment is one of the most... Okay, but what did they tell them about the towels? Oh, this was made by economists. This tells me a lot about the study hour. Exactly, Marlon. Exactly. We were like reading the abstract, I think, and they kept referring to their participants as agents, and I'm like, why are they economists? It's economists. It must be. There's no other explanation. I was like, agents. Are these economists? And I checked, and yep, both the authors are economists. But yeah, it explains a lot about the study that these are economists. I feel economist woman. Once again, disclaimer, I have nothing against economists unless it's funny. I only have something against economists as a joke. I do not have any serious grudges against economists, but I will make jokes, and if these jokes make you uncomfortable, economists, please let me know, and I will refrain from doing so, and apologize. It is not my intention to cause any discomfort, and I hope that these are all taken in good humor, and you may make jokes about psychologists to balance the score if you would like. I'm sorry, economists. Or something. Same with me, but for any of the continentals. Fair. Okay. These instructions also provided information on the fragmentation of production chain in the garment industry, that is, the cotton typically grown and manufactured in different countries. Okay, so the materials are getting made in different countries than when the garments are being manufactured in the towels. Thus, subjects knew about these two aspects: growing organic cotton and ensuring fair wear foundation controlled manufacturing standards could be considered separate from each other. So these are two separate characteristics. To analyze moral self-licensing within product decisions, we elicited the monetary value subjects assigned to the fair working conditions, manufacturing standards in product control and in product organic. In product organic, subjects knew that the towel already fulfilled another independent, ethically relevant criterion. In other words, organic cotton. Decisions were listed in a price list. So yeah, this is all very economist to me. The economist vibes are off the charts. Like, subjects chose between a towel that was manufactured under the Fair Wear Foundation, controlled standards, and no additional money, versus towel. They're confounding it again. Like, I get it is true that garments produced under ethical standards are more expensive, and that is more like environmentally valid. But once again, they are confounding cost with ethics. And while those two things cannot always be separated in the real world, it makes their results considerably less interpretable. It introduces like a whole bunch of explanations for their results that are not what they are predicting, that are not relevant to their hypothesis. And that's what gets me. I don't think that, like, as a psychologist, if I was a reviewer on this paper, like, no offense to the author, this could be standard in economics. I don't know. Like, this could be totally, like, accepted in economics, and it does make for a more environmentally valid study. I will give it that. But, like, based on, like, internal validity concerns about, like, are you testing the hypothesis you think you're testing, and what can you take away from the results? I would not consider this study for publication. I would not consider this, like, if I was a peer reviewer, I would not recommend this for publication, because they are building confounds into their experimental design. Individual purchases are less meaningful than structural stages of the system. I agree about that. I do agree about that, but that doesn't mean that we're just gonna, like, ignore the individual purchase aspect, if that makes sense. This stream might be blessed because I got, like, 5 Herba Mysticas and I'm only getting halfway around to Paldea. Hopefully all this luck isn't taken from Xenotime's luck making me escape. I guess we'll find out. It is concerning that we haven't heard from him in a bit. I hope he's okay. Monetary amounts varied from 0.25 to 12 euros in steps of 25 cents. Is that what, like, the smaller monetary unit of euros are? Are they also referred to as cents? I don't actually know. Subjects knew that one of their decisions would be randomly selected at the individual level and implemented. That is, subjects received in it. You're alive. Oh, that's the wrong one. That's what. Congratulations. Be safe, okay? Be safe. Oh gosh. The subjects received, in any case, a towel with the respective ethical attributes from their choice in the price list, and depending on the choice, additional money. Euro cents. Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate it. Even if one person does have the money to things the right way, the market is set up so that those who don't factor in those externalized costs take the one that doesn't incorporate the yeah, it's true. Like, an individual's not going to make a difference. If a group of individuals work together, it has to be a pretty big group as well. Like, there's a lot of factors that go into it. But I think, I mean, this is about, they're specifically talking about protecting your own image of yourself as a moral person. Like, that's the whole idea of moral licensing. It's you're maintaining your image of yourself as a moral person. And individuals might think that purchasing something that was produced immorally might reflect badly on their morality, and that's kind of the assumption this is working off of. It's not talking about, like, actual changing the system. It's talking about, am I maintaining my image of myself as a good person? which I would argue, like, there might be a relationship between those two things, but people are often quite, yeah, like veganism in one such case. Yeah, very similar to that kind of logic. Like, maybe I'm not changing the entire, like, farming system, but I am allowing myself to maintain my image of myself as a good person by not personally feeding into that system. That's the kind of logic that's going on here. Though it's usually accompanied by, yeah. Speaking of luck, shiny Cubchoo. Oh, congratulations! Nice. I need that shiny luck. I want to go shiny hunting after this. Though my carpal tunnel's acting up after shiny hunting yesterday. Okay. Yeah, oh, this bothers me. I don't like the study design. We defined the lowest monetary amount for subjects, still preferred the lower the switch point, the less a subject care about fair working, certified working standards. In cases of multiple switching, we use the mean switch point for our analysis. We observed that results were robust to multiple switching. I'm really not getting the connection here. Like, based on the theoretical framework, or at least how psychology understands moral licensing, it's possible that economics understands moral licensing differently from psychology, which would be consistent with this whole static versus dynamic thing. But the thing is, moral licensing originated in psychology. Like, when they talked about the origin of the theory of moral licensing, they cited a psychology paper. So it rubs me the wrong way if they're using a different definition. Like, if they're conceiving of it differently than psychologists do, they should use a different term for it. I don't know. Figure 1 illustrates... Oh, this is a sociology... This is an economics paper. This is an economics paper. This is economists. Figure 1 illustrates... Is it an international ice... This is econ. This is econ! Anyway. Figure 1 illustrates the price list in product organic. Product control is similar, except that cotton was conventional. For an economist, what would be the prime aspect of ethical practice? I don't know. I do not claim to understand economists. I'm so sorry. I don't know. Like, for the purpose of this paper, they seem to be assuming that engaging in environmentally friendly behavior is seen as universally ethical, which I would argue that that's not the case. I would argue that that's not the case, but that seems to be the standard that they are working off of. This assumption that that everybody thinks that keeping the environment protected is a moral issue, which there's plenty of psychological data showing that that is not the case, that this is not a universal moral belief. They're also thinking that fair working standards is a moral issue. I'm not as familiar with the psychological literature on that, but I would also predict that that is not... Very few things are, like, universally seen as a moral issue. I imagine, like, murder is probably one of them that's universally conceived of as a moral thing. Well, immoral in that case, but morally relevant. But I see maybe conservation of material and economic value overall. Maybe. In this case, they're just assuming that a towel produced in a more environmentally friendly way would be seen as a more ethical product. That's their idea. Like, if the materials used to make the towel were produced in a way that doesn't encourage pollution, then it's ethical. If they were produced in the standard method, which does pollute the environment, then it's unethical. A group of crows beg to differ. Yeah, that's a different type of murder. That's... Okay. Illustrates the price list in product organic, except product control is similar. After this... Okay. So this is the option. What? Wait. What? This is not... Not only are they confounding cost, they're confounding how many ethical aspects it has. Oh, this is upsetting me. Why? I guess, okay, so the idea here is that both of these products have different moral or like ethical implications. Option A is perceived as has like you gain more money, and it has one ethical pro. It's made of organic material. Option B is you don't get any money, but it has 2 ethical points in its favor. What is the design, right? They describe the design as if there's only 2 variables here, but it looks like there's at least 4 or 5 variables here. Named it static moral, and then the ANOVA scorpion. I love it. I love it. This is a messy experiment. I'm like tempted to try and start drawing out what they're doing here, because like they're describing it different from how it's presented. Can I just like... Okay, so... This is gonna hurt my words per minute. What if I have to break this stream into 2 streams? I would be sad. Okay, I'm gonna... Okay. Window... Paint... Wait. Does this not work? Does that not work? Why? No? Okay, that doesn't work. Does that mean I'm gonna have to like... Yeah, I only saw a black square too. We're gonna pull out the big guns when we really, really don't need to. We're gonna pull out the big guns for some reason. Okay. Alright. I wish I could just use paint, but it looks like we are going to... Okay, so here we go. Okay, so the design that they are describing, where's my tools? The design that they're describing is they have the standard, oh, that's not a color that you can see. They have their standard towel and ethical towel. So this is what they implied. They implied a design with 2 cells. There's 2 conditions. But the thing is, they're not just varying whether it's standard or ethical. The standard, you get money. And the ethical, you don't get money. You don't get any money. Then this also implies that within the ethical, there is half ethical plus some money, and then 100% ethical plus no money. And then it's implied that in the supplement you have but how does this separate? I don't understand what they're doing. I genuinely do not understand what is going on here. I mean, this... Like, this seems to be about the balancing point when they start preferring... Like, at what point do you switch from buying the only half ethical but thing that gives you more money to the fully ethical thing that gives you more money? At which point does like having 2 ethical points in its favor outweigh the money? That seems to be what this is trying to accomplish. But I'm not sure why they need that information for this study. It doesn't seem consistent with anything else they've said so far. The logical extremes are an ethical towel that costs money and a free towel that literally explodes the earth when you take it. At that point, only one person needs to take the free towel and everyone loses. The system would be constructed in a way not to make the latter trade. I'm imagining this situation. That sounds so funny. I'm so sorry. That is hilarious to me. After this main decision, so they make a decision to see where they start trading off, like at which point they are willing to give up money to get a more ethical towel. Essentially, how much money are you willing to sacrifice to get a towel that was produced under more ethical conditions? That's the idea. But what confuses me is they say, well, I don't know, maybe, are they considering half-hearted intention? They're considering half-hearted intention? I guess so. Yeah, that I feel like they're making this way more complicated than it needs to be in general, which economist joke here. No offense, economists, but this has been my experience with economists is simultaneously making things less and more complicated than they need to be. But I'm not saying that's all economists. This is just like the specific economics papers that I have personally encountered, which is a very small sample, so that cannot possibly be representative. There's a lot of, I thought that this would be an easy to read paper, but the more they do, the more confused I become. And it's not like, I'm not confused because I am confused because I'm not understanding what's going on, but some of their choices are genuinely like, from an experimental design and validity standpoint, some of the choices that they're making don't make any sense at all. From like, is this a valid way to test the hypothesis? Can I trust the results of this? And like, it's entirely possible that I'm misunderstanding, because like, you know, the culture of economics is different from the culture of psychology, but like, from things that I know about experimental design and validity, a lot of this is not making sense, assuming I'm interpreting it correctly, which I may not be. I might not be interpreting this correctly. But if I am, like, is you know. After this why do we care about the okay, so I can think of why we would want to know about we keep going for giggles more than anything now. Yeah. Okay, so after this main decision, subjects complete questionnaires about their political preferences. Now, there's nothing in the paper so far to suggest why they would want to measure political preferences at all. Like, there's no indication why this would be relevant information whatsoever. Based on my knowledge of moral licensing and more broadly moral psychology and political psychology, this does make sense. So, you know how I mentioned earlier how like they're assuming that environmentally friendly things are morally relevant and that everybody thinks that environmentally friendly things are more ethical than things that aren't environmentally friendly, and I thought that was a bad assumption. This might be why they're putting this in there. Yeah, so basically this so they can control for it. But in that case, why not control for the thing directly? Sorry, I'm making a bit of a jump in this explanation. People who are more conservative, at least in the US, tend to not see environmental issues as a moral issue. They don't see it as being in the moral domain. Whereas people who are more liberal in the US tend to be more likely to see environmental issues as morally relevant. So in that case, political preferences might be acting as a proxy for whether this person thinks that having environmentally friendly materials is actually morally relevant. But if that case, why don't you just measure directly whether they think this is morally relevant instead of using political beliefs and preferences as a proxy for that? 20 words per minute, so we've dropped another, oh no. Yeah, I don't know why. And personal character, that's vague as hell. I don't know what they mean. And socioeconomic background. I think this makes sense in this context because they're talking about spending money, and I can reasonably expect socioeconomic background would matter for that. We use standard tests of personality such as the Big Five. Why? 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 Why do you think that would matter? Why did you measure that? Why should this matter? I don't know. Like conscientiousness, maybe? Agreeableness, I can imagine, might potentially influence your results, but you need to tell me why you think this matters. Why are you including this? And Machiavellianism. What is... I feel like this is somehow very detailed and very vague. Yeah, we're almost 42% through by word count. Oh my god. And we're nearing 3 hours. I don't want to do a 6-hour stream. We're gonna end at midnight at this point or later. Oh, or like 1 a.m. We're gonna end like 1 a.m. Oh. Am I gonna have to come back to this paper? In my humble opinion, it looks like they just threw everything at the wall to see what sticks. That's a very political science approach. No offense to political scientists. Political science have a very different approach than psychologists in that they will like measure everything, like every conceivable demographic value and control for it in their analysis. Psychologists don't do that. We only measure the ones that we think are actually like particularly relevant to something, which has pros and cons. Like maybe there's something that we didn't think of and didn't include, and that's a problem. Hey, 42, the answer to life, the universe, and everything. Bookmark it, then come back to it next time. Yeah, maybe. Maybe I'll do another stream on Wednesday. What's my schedule looking like on Wednesday to finish this? Or maybe we'll come back to it next Monday, and I'll come back to it, and I'll have no idea what was happening when we left off. No streaming until midnight. I will not stream until midnight. I'm definitely not streaming until midnight. I feel like 10 p.m. will be my absolute latest cutoff. Like, I think that's a reasonable time to cut off. Subjects did... So... and Machiavellianism, and the rather new preference survey module. If we come back, perhaps Xenotime's expedition will have borne fruits. That's true! True! At the end of the study, approximately half an hour later, instructions... What happened in this intervening half hour? I also want to know that. What happened between the towel task and then this donation task? Instructions confronted subjects with another ethically relevant question. Subjects did not know this in advance, and therefore, compared with the study of Nisi et al., subjects could not use later sharing decisions as a justification for selfish behavior in the towel decision. Also, can we see the flyer? Apparently it's in Xenotime's Discord, which I don't know where that is, but... Through the computer screen, subjects had to decide whether they wanted to share their show-up fee, €2. So participants were being compensated €2 for participating in the study. Potentially more, depending on which towel they picked. So everybody got €2. If you picked the inorganic towel, you got more than €2. With refugees from the local refugee camp, we chose to implement the binary decision instead of a price list to distinguish this choice, also regarding its framing from the previous decision on towels. I still don't understand the towel, like, why did they do it with the price list? That... Is there a dependent variable when they switched from... Like, all the theoretical lead-up that they had in the introduction section and literature review is not really matching up with the methods. And that's what's getting me. I think, I probably could make sense of it. Maybe I'm too tired to think about this properly. Anyway, that's probably it. That's probably... if I thought about this harder, I feel like I could get to it. So... The idea being that the good deed would be trading off earlier. So if this is how they if table 1 is how they operationalize this choice, you're doing a good deed if you swap over to the organic and fairware before, like, when you're essentially, if you sacrifice more money to go for the full ethical towel, and then it's a less ethical decision if you sacrifice less money to go for the more ethical towel. And is that their dependent variable then? Like, how much money they're willing to sacrifice to go for the more ethical towel. But then again, this description of these towels does not match how they described it in the methods section. Typical case of why is this happening? It doesn't make sense. Author, maybe it'll make sense in the manga. Maybe it'll make sense in the supplemental material. I feel like that's like the equivalent. Maybe if I read the supplemental material, all of this would make sense. Through the computer screen, subjects had to decide whether they wanted to share their show-up fee with the refugees from a local refugee camp. Maybe this is also why they measured political preferences, because I imagine that's also correlated with their willingness to help the local refugees as well. We chose to implement a binary decision instead of a price list, so are you going to share, yes or no? This makes less sense, or at least this isn't how we do it in psychology. In psychology, for choosing between the towels, we'd be more likely to make that binary. You either choose the more ethical or less ethical towel, and here we'd be more likely, how much of your thing do you want to donate? Yeah, I've been posting the link to the flyer, but YouTube thought it was spam and hid all the messages. Oh, oops, sorry. Oh. Yeah, I haven't seen any of them, I'm sorry. I haven't seen any of them, so I can't approve it. I'm so sorry. If you send it to me on Discord, maybe it won't count as spam if I send it. Okay. We chose to implement a binary decision instead. Yeah, this is like the opposite of how a psychologist would do it, and maybe that's what's messing me up. The donation amount was substantial but not exceedingly high compared with the payout that subjects would earn in the study, which comprises a show-up fee, a towel, and a potential payoff for the price list. I love it. At this point, subjects had not received feedback on whether they would receive a towel produced under the... That's so weird. So, like, they're choosing at which point they would switch from the fair working conditions to the conventional... It's tiny URL and then a .com and then / lost forbidden. Tiny URL. Maybe I should check this URL first in another browser just to be extra sure. Not that I don't trust you. com / lost. Oh, I typoed it. See, that's exactly what I was afraid of, that I would typo it. Oh, here it is. Oh, wait, okay, yeah. Here, let me, here. Whoa, what the heck was that? My model just... Oh my gosh. Is it okay if, like, if I make this a 2-part stream, can I use this in the thumbnail for part 2? Is that okay? Oh my gosh, I love it. Oh my goodness, I'm saving this. Yeah, totally. I think I will do that. Oh, I love this. Oh my goodness. This is killing me. I love it. Yes, yes. Or dynamic self-licensing, or the difference between them. I have no clue. I'm sure you did something bad today. Make up for it by being good and telling me what this is. So invoking moral license. Oh my goodness. You know, I'm not gonna lie, it's very tempting to hang this up around, like, around my department. I'm not gonna lie. Or just like print out a copy and just hand it out to like the moral psychologist I know. It's so tempting. Or like, oh man, if I wasn't afraid of doxing myself, I would totally post this on my like professional Twitter. Or my professional, like my professional social media. If I wasn't afraid of doxing myself, I would absolutely do that. And see if like any of the moral psychologists who follow me can tell me. Oh, this is so good, because I really do want to know. Thank you, this is glorious. I'm gonna... I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. I'm gonna do something with this. I love it. Okay, okay. Definitely thumbnail, though. Maybe on the thumbnail, I should probably erase the, like, black out the email on the thumbnail, just in case. Can we get a printable version on your Discord? What if we made, like, business cards of this so we could just hand them out? Also, the top corners are kitten packing peanuts. I was wondering what that was. Oh no! My cat is staring at me. He's like, I've never heard you laugh like you don't need to block out the email. It's a burner one anyway. Okay. I love you, Mr. Kitty. I need to take a picture of this little man. He's making a weird face at me. I'm sorry. We know how it is. Well, you are such a good kitty. You're a hero of the land and sea. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'll put the PDF. Easy kitty. He's a kimchi. Oh, we love it. We do love the kimchi. We do. He's a good man. He's a very good man. Ah. I will have to post the picture on my there we go. I'll have to post a picture on my Twitter after. Just be like, I laughed so hard. He looked like this so that everyone can see his majesty. He's adorable cuteness. Okay. All right. I want to at least get through the methods section before we cut this short. If we can just put it up at all the universities, it will avoid doxing, which that's true. Oh my goodness. He's a good kimchi. Hello, he heard me talking about him. He's here to scream. Hello, kitty. The people love you. Okay. All right. In the belief treatments, that is, in belief control and belief organic, subjects did not make any ethically relevant product rotation decisions themselves. They indicated their expectations of subjects in their respective product. So this is what people guessing what people do. We incentivized these estimates through quadratic scoring rules. So quadratic scoring rules, I've actually worked with these before, quadratic scoring rules. Essentially, what this does is the more accurate you are, or the closer you are to the truth, good. That's good. And it gives you a good score. The further you get from the truth, it becomes your score increases quadratically. So the closer you're, if you're pretty close to the truth, your score is going to be relatively good across the time. But the further you get away, it becomes multiplicatively a worse score. So the further you are, the more you're penalized. And it's not like a linear increase in penalization. It's quadratic. It becomes quite drastic. If you don't hurry, I'll come over and wrap you in a burrito. Mr. Kitty will help me. If you can beat me. If you can defeat me in battle. Can you? Do you think you can win against me? I'm not blinking on purpose. That's my face tracking. Okay, we incentivized these estimates through quadratic scoring rules. The respective estimation for the mean willingness given in cents had the maximum payout. So their payout was determined by how accurate their guess was. The closer they got to what people actually did, the more money they got. The further away, the less money they got. In belief control, subjects guessed the average willing to pay for controlled manufacturing standards in product control. Subjects in belief control knew the instructions from the product control treatment for the Talbot decision. Thus, they had the exact same information as subjects in product control. After indicating their estimate, they also filled out the same questionnaires as subjects in the product treatments. They're just filling them out as what they think the people making the decision will make, as opposed to themselves. Then the instructions confronted them with a second estimation task, requiring them to guess what percentage of subjects in control opted to share their show-up fees with the refugees. What's your armor class again? I don't know. I'm just a little more. Which means it's hard to hit me. Again, we employed a quadratic scoring rule to incentivize this task. The payout for the estimated willingness to share was max of euro. Subjects had to type integer percentage values. Wait, why do they have to type integer percentage values? Oh no, because it's the percentage of subjects that did it. So they're estimating how many people out of the overall sample shared their money with refugees. And this is average willingness to pay, which I still don't fully understand, but I think that's the average amount of money they were willing to sacrifice for the more ethical Tao. We did establish earlier in the stream that they have low con, so low HP. It's true, I have low HP, but I was gonna say I have high agility, but I don't have that either. I have very low agility. 44 cents off results in 0 payout. Ooh, interesting. Thank you for the math, Marlon. I am not a math person, so it is much appreciated. In belief organic, students accordingly guessed the behavior from product organic. In total, subjects in the belief control and belief organic could earn up to 10 euros for good estimates, in addition to a show-up fee of 7 euros. Why are they paid so much more? I guess that's because they don't have the opportunity to get this extra money from choosing the less ethical towel. Don't leave a candle out. Yeah, don't. Candle bad. The study took place at the Karlsruhe Decision and Design Laboratory, the KD Squared Lab at the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology. We used Orsi and Hrut. So a subject pool. Okay. So these are both like just ways to get participants. They're groups of participants. Karl is in Karl Ruhe. Karl Ruhe. Karl Ruhe Institute of Technology. Karlsruhe. Karlsruhe. Thank you. Karlsruhe. Karlsruhe Institute of Technology. The Karlsruhe Decision and Design Laboratory, KD Squared Lab, at the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, instructions regarding the towels were, I've been there and people I know go there. Nice. Maybe you might have met some of the researchers that worked on this project then, or like at least like been in the same areas. Hello, Mr. Kitty. I love you too. And instructions regarding the towels were presented on paper, and questionnaires were presented on a computer screen using social science survey. I've never heard of this. It's a computer software to do surveys in social science, presumably. See Appendix B and S1 Appendix for details. Hypotheses. Okay. It's like France is an arrow pointing to it. Ooh. All right. The insights gained from the experiments on, I know people who are first-year students also probably not. That's true. Yeah. But maybe you know some people who have had these people as their professors. Who knows? The insights gained from the experiments on moral self-licensing and conscious accounting show that people use acquired moral credentials to justify less ethical behavior at a later point in time. So I've been good up until this point, so I can afford to be a little bad. In a similar fashion, they morally redeem themselves from unethical behavior in the past by performing subsequent ethical good deeds. So I'm making up for what I did. Even if the ethical deeds are small and cheap later on, they seem to serve as good justification for rather selfish behavior at an earlier point in time. So it doesn't matter how good the good deed is, as long as you're doing something good to make up for the bad behavior. It doesn't necessarily need to be proportionate to the bad thing you did. It just needs to be a good thing. Nisi et al. Asserted that a similar logic may have been behind the sale of indulgences as practiced by the Catholic Church in medieval times. Oh, I love that connection. Yet in that case, moral redemption was often costly. Moral cleansing may provoke a reduction in moral behavior in the first place, specifically if subjects know the possibility to morally cleanse themselves afterwards. So, like, if they know that they can absolve themselves of sin, essentially, they're more likely to sin because they know they can clear themselves of it. Yeah, that's definitely, that docket has on the ride looks really cool. I'll have to look, well, that was a hell of a throwback. Yeah, right. Second Protestant Reformation reference in the stream. The deep cuts. Such a mechanism could also exist in the framework of status decision across different ethically relevant facets of one product. The satisfaction of fulfilling one ethical dimension could lead to a decreased valuation of a second, though unrelated ethical dimension at the same point. But they have no control condition. They have no completely unethical towel, from what I saw. So how can they test this? How can they? So, like, in the introduction, they were implying that they were comparing a completely unethical or, like, average towel to a slightly more ethical towel. Here, but from the design so far, they're comparing a slightly less, like, an ethical towel that's environmentally ethical to a towel that's both environmentally and, like, labor-wise ethical. They have no just towel that's, like, a cheap towel made with cheap labor and like made with unethical labor, and they don't have a control condition. But in the introduction, they were talking about it as if they had one control condition and one experimental condition, but here they have two experimental conditions, so we don't have a baseline. We don't have any baseline here. What's happening? I don't know what's going on. It seems like we're almost reading, like, the introduction was from a separate version of these studies than the methods. That's what's so weird to me. I'm so confused. Such a mechanism could also exist in the satisfaction of fulfilling one ethical dimension could lead to a decreased valuation of the second, though unrelated ethical dimension at some point in time. So, like, if you buy the environmentally friendly towel, you might not feel like you need to buy the also labor ethical towel, because the towel's already ethically good in one way. It doesn't need to be ethically good in multiple ways. You'd think it'd be the other way. There's no ethical towel under capitalism. I also like just saying unethical towel versus ethical towel. What is an unethical towel? The towel of sin. They should make her more tables. I think they got lost in the map. I agree. Like, my experience with economics papers has generally been they got lost in the math, but like that could just be my lack of understanding of economics and math. It could just be a me thing, but like my impression is often that they focus too much on the math and not enough on other aspects. But again, like I don't know if that's actually true. That could just be me. Evil towel, yeah. The towel of good and the towel of evil. That might be part of the next thumbnail too. It might be that flyer and then like a devil and an angel towel. Right. This would imply that the time dimension is not what renders moral cleansing relevant. Instead, it's the opportunity to have some sort of moral excuse. So it doesn't matter how long it's been or how short or long it's been since you did the bad thing. All that matters is whether you have an excuse for doing the bad thing, or like some sort of like moral brownie points that can buy you out of the bad thing or cancel out the bad thing. This logic would be specifically attractive if subjects did not care about the consequences, but instead considered all these decisions relevant for one specific aspect about themselves. So it's not actually about the environment. It's not actually about fair labor. It's just about feeling good about myself. A towel made from woven human collagen fiber cloth, a multilingual version of the study. The towel. What is happening? What are you all doing? I can't. Oh my gosh. I can't. I don't know. That is a positive self-image. Our first main hypothesis is therefore that subjects in product organic have a lower willing to pay for controlling for manufacturing conditions than product control, thus static moral self-licensing exists. See, what I don't get here is that their organic condition is both organic and fair labor, where the control is organic. Like, why is the control thing called organic if the control condition is organic and the organic condition is organic plus fair labor? Like, this doesn't make sense to me. We will build a towel to dry. Since they haven't, I shall, at this point on, visualize all towels as red, perfect for flag making. They specifically stated that the towels in this study are beige and neutral colors. So we know what color the towels are. They are boring beige towels, with the idea being that everybody would be roughly equally interested in beige towels. They are completely unoffensive, is the idea here. Boring, but unoffensive. Oh god, here it is. The economists turning their hypothesis into some kind of equation. I've been visualizing them as white and a dark green. Oh, I like that. Therefore, we expect that the willingness to pay for the organic product will be less, or the people will be more willing to pay for the control product than the organic product. Beige, the most morally neutral color. I think the idea was they didn't want a color that would, like, if it was a hot pink towel, then the color of the towel might influence people's willingness to buy, but the beige is so generic that the color shouldn't factor in. But honestly, I wouldn't buy a beige towel. That's boring. You know, I don't know. I see, I wasn't there for that part. My scheme is in ruins now. It's okay. Yeah, that was very, very early on in the paper. If your variables look just like look like that, just write bloody English sentences. Oh my god, I know, right? Like, this is so like, why can't you just write it in a sentence? So basically, people will be more willing to pay for the control product, which again is an organic product, than they will be willing to pay for the product that is both organic and has fair trade practices. We need an alignment chart of towel colors. Yes. Did they write that out what WTP meant earlier? Yes. Very, very early on, they wrote where was it? But they did tell us what WTP meant. It means willingness to pay, or something like that. Where is it? WTP. I know they did write it out. That's why I know what it means, because I didn't know what that meant before reading this, and I know they wrote somewhere what it meant. Willingness to pay, yeah. Purple towel is lawful neutral. I'm thinking about, like, earlier today, Maury made me take a Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader quiz. And I'll let you guess how I did on that. But purple was the answer to one of the questions, and I got it wrong. I'm mad at myself. They definitely defined it. This stream can't go on forever because of carpal tunnel. There's too many towel-based puns here. Where? I know they defined willing to pay, and I can't find it, and I don't want to control F it, because then I'll lose my place. I'm not gonna worry about it. Maybe they did it in the abstract. Did they do it in the abstract? No? There it is. Willingness to pay. WTP. Right there. To be fair, those 5th graders were allowed to look up answers. That's true. Enter storage. I want a badge of your 10 ethical towels. Thank you. The towels of good and evil. Alright, where are we? Where are we? Here we go. Subjects later had to make another unrelated ethical decision by choosing whether to share their... Oh my gosh, I'm feeling dizzy. This is sad. Because our subjects did not receive any feedback on their payoff from the price list until after the experiment, they know whether their towel is ethical in one dimension, the material, but cannot be sure whether it's produced under ethical... Why did they name this? Organic is organic and, like, fair work conditions, whereas control is just organic. Why? I don't understand. Also, this stream can't go on forever because I have to sleep and I don't want to miss the rest of this towel. Oh, okay. We need to end the stream soon for Maury. Leave store and enters lab. I got enough for the Molotovs. Let's get ready for the raid tonight. No! Those are some unethical towels. The exception is subjects willing to pay the maximum or unwilling to pay them. We've returned to 22 word per minute. Yay! In line with the findings on dynamics moral self-licensing, the certainty of having acquired a product that fulfills at least one ethical facet in the first stage should free subjects to behave less ethically afterward. So essentially, they're creating a situation where everybody has done something that's at least somewhat ethical. And that's what bugs me. They have no control condition. They have no control condition. So how are they to say that... Whatever. I'm not an economist. I don't know. This leads to our second hypothesis. Subjects in the product organic, so this is the more ethical towel, will be less likely to share their show-up fee than subjects in the product control, because that's the less ethical towel. It's still ethical, but it's less ethical. They do have a control condition. They called it control. That makes it a control. Mr. Kitty, I'm shoving my face in your fur after this stream. I need to recharge. Okay. Okay, we're back. We're back. I'm okay. So they think that people will donate less in the organic condition because that's the more ethical towel, and they feel like they've bought themselves more morality points. They'll donate less in the control condition because that's the less ethical towel. They haven't bought themselves as many morality points, so they feel the need to donate more. Exploratively, we also investigate the incentivized beliefs of outsiders about the behavior of subjects in respect. I still don't understand why they did this. I mean, I get that it's explorative, but, like, it's, like, I don't really get why they care. Economists deciding between Xbox control and PlayStation control. I'm in pain. I'm in pain. And the worst part is, like, I don't know if I'm in pain because I'm just, like, not economist enough to, like, fathom what's going on here, or if this is genuinely bad experimental design. Like, I don't know if my critiques make sense because I'm not economics pilled. Like, this could all be perfectly logical. This could all make perfect sense from the viewpoint of an economist. This could be like a perfectly beautiful, and this is a peer-reviewed study. This study did pass peer review. So it could be that this is a perfectly valid study. And they do definitely seem to be, in some cases, we can explain away these, like, confounds and stuff by having environmental validity. But others can't be justified in that way, and I don't know whether that's just, it conflicts with how a psychologist would do it, but it is still valid from an economic perspective, or if it's just straight up, this doesn't even make sense from an economist perspective. Like, I don't know. Even if it technically makes sense, it's not written digestibly. Well, yeah, that is But like, I'm from a different this isn't written with us. Like, I don't think we have any economists watching the stream, so we're not the intended audience for this, which does complicate things. Do I need to put more flyers in the econ department to find out if you're just not econ? No, please don't. we've already the poor economics department is already going through it, and we don't need to do this to them anymore. It may be that subjects in belief treatments predict that strong moral licensing will take place in product treatments. So this is assuming that their participants are familiar, or at least can intuit the idea of moral licensing, which I don't know how intuitive or unintuitive moral licensing thing is. Is this like something that just like the average person off the street already has kind of like an intuition about in their head? That people engage in moral licensing? Maybe. I don't know. But this is kind of working on the assumption that that's true. This is not so clear, however, for several reasons. First, subjects in the belief treatments do not face a trade-off between more ethical decisions and money. In the literature, hypothetical questions and real behavior are often correlated regarding altruistic versus selfish behavior. But how strongly are they correlated? Like, based on psychology, based on the psychology literature, this correlation would be pretty darn weak. However, typically in real behavior, subjects care much more about their self-interest than when hypothetically asked. Yeah, there's that, like, this is correlated, but it's not a great correlation. Accordingly, literature on ethical consumption speaks of the famous 30-3 ratio, or attitude-behavior gap. Yeah, in psychology, we call this the attitude-behavior gap pretty often. We have other names for it, but yeah, they're, like, again, like, people's attitudes don't line up towards with their behavior very well. Like they are related. Like, say my attitude towards taking public transit versus driving is correlated with my actual behavior in public transit and driving, but it's not nearly as strong as a relationship as you'd think. Like how I feel about something is not like super related to what I actually do in my day-to-day life. The idea of actual economists watching the stream and just silently staring in horror at their phone in the corner is hilarious. I would like to formally apologize to any economists that are watching this, unless you agree with me, in which case I apologize for nothing. I think it's intuitive. The idea of I was good earlier so I can indulge now is pretty common. Like how you say I've done X, I've observed. Yeah, Inks. Yeah, I agree that's pretty intuitive. I will, like, I've been careful about this because, like, admittedly, I have been in psychology, and also specifically I've been familiar with a moral psychologist for nearly 10 years now, so like I've been hearing about this idea in an academic context for a long time, so I don't trust myself to make a judgment about whether this isn't like something that's intuitive to the average person. Like, I would guess that it would be, but again, like, I have not discussed this concept with average people very much, or like with people who aren't like deep in moral psychology for a long time. So it's very good to hear that my intuition was correct, that most people do have some sort of intuition of this. Thank you. That's very helpful. I really appreciate that. Thank you for that. Right. Comparing stated intent from questionnaires to real decisions in the market. Furthermore, the literature has shown that context can affect morally relevant. Yes. Context can affect morally relevant judgment. Oh, Bandura. Hey, Bandura! Albert Bandura. He's the monkey guy, isn't he? I think so. I should know who Albert Bandura. He's the Bobo doll guy. Right, Albert Bandura, the Bobo doll guy. I didn't realize he'd done stuff on morality. That's cool. I mean, I effectively thought it up independently, so it's at least, yeah, absolutely. To do this better, we need product price total, measured intention. What else? We need whether people view fair labor and environmental concerns as morally relevant. That's one of the major things that I think is missing from this. Like, they're assuming that people view environmentally friendly products as more ethical, but they're not actually measuring whether people think, like, caring for the environment is a morally relevant thing. Because we know there's been a lot of past research showing that some people view environmental behavior as a very morally relevant thing, but other people think that it's completely irrelevant to morality. And I think that's a major missing piece in this study. Like, I think that I don't think this study makes a lot of sense without that piece. Let's see. This is, I'm looking at this because I am familiar with moral psychology, so I kind of want to see who they're citing and what they're citing. Huber, Stefan, market design, marketing. These are economists. Oh, here's philosophers, I think, because this is published in Ethics, which I'm assuming. Low for elements. Cite some psychologists. Oh, here it is. Here. There's a psychologist. Because psychologists are the ones who came up with moral licensing. They keep citing Bandura. Like the big names in I wouldn't like, again, this isn't my area, but when I think about Albert Bandura, I don't think about moral licensing. Like when I think about moral licensing in psychology, there are a lot of other names that I would think of before Albert Bandura. But that could just be my bias. I don't know. The result is going to be interesting, at least. Yeah, that's true. I'm interested to see what. Well, they've already kind of told us what they found, but I'm excited to see the numbers. Therefore, we expect that people believe that people will be more willing to pay for the less ethical towel than the more ethical towel, or that people will think there won't be a difference. And accordingly, people will predict that either people will be more likely to donate if they chose the less ethical towel, or they'll be equally likely to donate. They're predicting that people will be less likely to donate and be less likely to pay for the more ethical towel. If subjects do not predict that moral self-licensing will take place, that is, if both formulas hold with equality, emphasis on the importance of moral self-licensing in social and public debate might be relevant. I see. Okay. We've hit the results section. I have been streaming for over 3 hours. I've been going for over 3 hours. I think I should probably stop. It's like nearly, it's getting close to 11 p.m. Eastern. I should probably stop. We should probably split it here, which means that we get to use Xenotime's lovely flyer as the thumbnail for part 2, because there will be a part 2. We'll revisit this paper maybe next Monday, schedule permitting. And we'll get right into the results section, which is the section that I'm most excited to read. I'm really excited about this, and I know about statistics. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse. Oh my god. Oh, oh my god. Oh my god. I can't do it. I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't. Oh my god. Okay, okay. Okay. So, oh my god. Okay. As somebody who kind of specializes in statistics, I am in physical pain right now. I'm in physical pain. Okay, okay. I'm sorry, I'm at least reading the first paragraph of this because I need to capture this emotional energy. Normally I would try and calm down before I talk about this, but this is edutainment, so I'm gonna try and stay calm, but I'm not gonna give myself emotional distance from this before I try and stay calm. Okay. So, we hypothesize that static moral self-licensing takes place, that is, subjects treat orthogonal, ethically relevant aspects. Orthogonal meaning unrelated, so the labor practices are unrelated to the material. Final words permit 20 words. Relevant aspects as if they were substitutes in product choice. That doesn't. Okay. Therefore, we expected that subjects in product organic would pay less money to ensure that fair labor practices, controlled manufacturing standards, and product control, as reflected in a lower switch point in the price list. So, essentially, they think that people will be less likely to spend more money for a more ethical towel, and they'll be more likely to spend more money for the less ethical towel. This hypothesis was validated. So they found support for their hypothesis. In the product control, the average switch point was 5.73 euro. We had 7 multiple switchers in sample. Our findings remain robust if we exclude them or use the first switch point. So they had multiple people who switched back and forth between. So like multiple switchers, I'm assuming means like they switched from the less ethical to the more ethical, and then back to the less ethical, and then back to the more ethical as the like price increased, which is weird behavior. So they analyzed it both with and without that weird behavior, and they got the same result. So that's a good sign. Their results hold up if they exclude people who behaved in a weird way, but they also hold up if they include that weird behavior. Our median switch point to approximate their willingness to pay. So they analyzed the data in multiple different ways, and they kept getting the same result. That is a good sign. That is a good sign that this is replicable. This isn't necessarily an artifact of how they decided to handle these weird people. They tried handling these 7 weird participants multiple ways, and they kept getting the same result. That is a good sign. I will note, they have never told me at any point how many participants they have. I have no idea how many people there are in their sample. And they're not following APA standards of reporting statistics, so I can't use their degrees of freedom to find out. I have no idea how many people this data is based on, which is a red flag to me. This could be based on 10 people. This could be based on 10,000 people. I have no idea. I have no idea. They had at least 7 participants. I know they had at least 7 participants. I have no information on their sample size besides that. That is bad. That's bad practice. I don't know. Our findings are, okay. See the robustness check. Maybe it's in the appendix. Do I want to look at the appendix? Oh, I have to download it. I don't want to download the appendix. So yeah, I don't know their sample size. That's a bad thing. That's a bad sign. Is it in the... Found a red towel among all the beige? Yes. Okay, this doesn't give me their sample size. Okay, here. N equals 100 for these t-tests. Okay, so they had 100 participants. Maybe. If these t-tests correspond to the ones that they're talking about in results. With 100 isn't great, but it's not awful. Okay. Where were we? Here. Okay. I'll at least read the first result before we stop. Okay. In product organic, so the more ethical towel, the average switch point was 4 euros. This is a decrease of 30%. P equals 0.002. So this is good practice in reporting p-values. They're reporting the exact value to 3 decimal places. That's good practice. But this is a one-sided t-test. One-sided t-test means they only cared if it went the direction they predicted. They only considered it significant if it was consistent with their prediction. They would have found no difference if it was the opposite direction that they predicted. So they would have, which is, I don't think that's a good way to do this, because I think I could just as reasonably hypothesize that people would be willing to pay more for the more ethical towel than the less ethical towel. In fact, I think that's the more intuitive prediction, that people would be willing to pay more money for a more ethical towel. But they predicted specifically that people would pay more money for a less ethical towel, which doesn't seem intuitive to me, and also doesn't seem necessarily either consistent or inconsistent with moral licensing. I still don't buy that argument, but they were so sold on this that that was the only outcome that they were willing to consider as meaningful. Now, in psychology, we do not use one-sided t-tests almost ever. There's a reason for this. One-sided t-tests have lower standards for rejecting the null. It's easier to find a significant result with a one-sample t-test than with a one-sided t-test than a two-sided t-test. That means you're more likely to get a false positive. You're more likely to get a result that says something's there when nothing's actually there. So this result can't be trusted as much as if they ran it as a two-sided t-test. Based on this p-value, I think this would still be significant if they had run it with a two-sided t-test, but just like, I would not consider this good practice for a variety of reasons. One, it means that if it went the opposite direction that they predicted, they would have missed it. And I think there's a very reasonable chance that it could have gone the opposite way they predicted it. So I would never have run this as a one-sided sample t-test because it could reasonably go the other direction. And also because this has increased their chance of getting a false positive result, of thinking they found something when they didn't actually find something. So this is a red flag for me. I do think that if it were two-sided, would it be highly... Oh my god, Xenotime, I know you're doing that on purpose, but oh my god. Which is highly significant. Okay, highly significant. Red flag number 2. This is not how p-values work. Something is either significant or it's not. This is a binary thing. It's either significant or it's not significant. Highly significant is not a thing. There is no such thing as a highly significant p-value. That's not a thing. This shows me that they don't really understand the theory behind the statistics that they're using. I feel like I'd almost understand if the p-value was lower than 0.001, but it's not even that. It's not even that. I would never call this highly, like, you shouldn't call it highly significant. I would be more forgiving of calling it highly significant if this was even smaller, if this was less than 0.001, but they're saying highly significant is less than 0.01. 0.01 is still a 1% chance of a type 1 error. Okay, that's an oversimplification, but like, that's an alpha of 0.0, like, 1% probabilities happen all the time. Rolling a 5-star unit in Fate Grand Order, the probability of rolling a 5-star unit in Fate Grand Order is less than their highly significant standard. It's half their highly significant standard. I'm an undergrad who learned statistics from a goddamn physics course, and even I can tell highly significant stuff is highly significantly stupid. I think it's a misunderstanding. Yeah, so the rate up is 0.7%. I think the rate up is like 0.5%, if I remember. Well, no, rate up is different. Isn't it like 0.8? I don't remember the exact rates, actually. I should look up the exact rates in FGO. I think it was 0.5% for a 5-star, and then like rate up is like a fraction of 0.5%. FGO 5-star rates. Oh, you're right, it is 0.7. Yeah, so still, their standards for highly significant is more probable than getting a 5-star in Fate Grand Order. Why did they lower it now? It's possible they raised it one. They raised it in... I think they might have raised the chances after a certain point in the Japanese version, and maybe in the... I don't know. Yeah, well, I've been out of FGO for 4 years now. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I haven't been good at keeping track. I think they did change the probability. Oh, there's a 1% chance of a... Okay. Yeah, no, I was right the first time. So 1% chance is the probability of a 5-star servant. If you want the 5-star servant that's on rate up, I think that's like... a 0.7%? Okay, so, sorry, I'm salty about FGO's Gotcha, because there's, in JP, they have Dante from Dante's Inferno, and I really wanted to roll him, and I rolled 2 non-rate up 5-stars, and I didn't roll Dante, and I'm upset. 1 star for any 5-star, 0.8% for the rate up. That is so upsetting, so I hit that 0.2% chance twice in a row. That is... We need to see the papers for using 5-star probability in Fate Grand Order as their significant... Okay, anyway. He does look cool, and apparently he's like a fail guy, and I love the combination of really cool appearance but kind of fail. Isn't Dante just like an IRL? Yeah, well, he's a pretender. He's a pretender because he's both Dante the real guy and Dante the character in the story he wrote. He's both himself and his self-insert combined, because Fate is like that, you know. Anyway. We should probably stop for now. I've been going way longer than I had hoped. um, here's their graph. There's their graph. Yay. Do they tell us what the error bars are at least? They don't even tell us what the error bars are. Are these 95% confidence intervals? Are they standards? Or I don't know. If Fate is awesome. I agree. Fate is awesome. I love Fate. Anyway, okay. No, wait, let's finish reading this paragraph and then we'll stop and then we'll start back again when we get back to this here. It'll be confusing if they put Dante and Dante's in the same event. Yeah. I don't like the contrast on the light gray bar. Man, Fate, so dense and incredible and horrible stuff. Yeah, yeah. Congrats on getting the point of chances. Yeah, right. Oh my gosh. And we dropped overall to 21.1. Okay. So, subjects know from instructions that sewing the towel is a very difficult production step than growing the cotton because people involved in ecological consequences differ. Nevertheless, they attribute less value to guaranteeing minimum working standards when they know the towel is made from organic cotton. Potentially, subjects have already have fairly good moral conscience. In the latter case, accordingly, will care less about. I don't think their data speaks to this because we don't have a control group. I don't think that they have found that static moral self-licensing. I think their experimental design bugs me a lot. But, I mean, it could, I might just not be understanding it. Like, I don't want to discount the possibility that my lack of understanding of economics is affecting my evaluation of this paper. Like, it could be that this is just me. It could be that this is a me problem, not the paper problem. I don't want to say the paper's bad. It could just be a me problem. But I will die on the hill of highly significant being misunderstanding statistics, especially highly significant as p is 0.01. How many people worked on this? 2. Well, we don't know how many people worked on this, but the amount of people who worked on this and put in such a contribution that they qualified to be authors on this paper is 2. 2 people, there are 2 authors on this paper. There could have been more people who were helping on this paper behind the scenes, but they didn't contribute enough to earn authorship on the paper. The usual disclaimer, by the way, again, like, do not attack the authors or author of this paper based on my assessment. This is not, I'm not an economist, so I'm not I wouldn't be qualified to be a peer reviewer on this paper. Like, I do think that there's statistics here, especially like this sentence in particular, or these 2 sentences in particular make me very concerned about their understanding of the statistics that they're using. But, like, experimental design-wise, I have deep concerns about their experimental design, but it could be that my concerns are irrelevant to economics. Like, it could be that there are things that I don't know that make what they're doing perfectly okay and reasonable, and this paper did pass peer review. So take my critiques with a grain of salt. Like, from a psychological perspective, like, from psychology methods, I would not consider this a solid paper. But that's from my standards, and it could be that there's something here I don't know. I just wonder on what kind of conversation they had to arrive at these results using those practices. I mean, it could be that these are perfectly valid practices from an economic perspective, you know? Like, I don't know. I don't know. It could be like this is perfectly reasonable from an economist perspective. So, like, I'm presenting it from a psychologist perspective. But that's not the audience that this is written for. That's not who's intended to read this paper. So it's hard to say. You know, like, I could be being too harsh on it because there are concepts in this experimental design that I'm just not familiar with, and they might have addressed all the concerns with this. Yeah, different disciplines have their own different ways and standards and different ways of thinking about things for good reason. Exactly, yeah. So, like, take any critique I'm giving with a grain of salt because this is not my area. I'm reading something outside of my area and applying my area's standards to a different area. You know, like, it could be that I'm right. Maybe I'm right, but it is also probable that I'm wrong. You know, like, so anyway, like, I want to make that clear. Like, I want to remain intellectually humble. I am not the smartest person in the room. This is outside of my area of expertise. I am not the most qualified person to evaluate the merits of this paper. And presumably the peer reviewers who approved this paper were more qualified than I to assess its quality. So just want to make that clear. Right, it's 11. I gotta get ready for bed. I have to work tomorrow. Thank you all so much for coming. I guess we'll finish this up. Maybe we'll finish this up next Monday. We'll finish this up at some point in the future. Yeah, I don't know when, but we will finish this paper. I'm sorry that we didn't finish it today. Thank you all so much, though, for dropping in. Thank you, Xenotime. I will try and also find the answer to these things. 21.75 words per minute. That's not bad. That's not the worst I've done, surely. Good night, good rest. Thank you, Hair Day. Thank you all so much for dropping in. I hope that you all get some good rest. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming to the stream. It wouldn't be a stream without y'all. Yeah, take care. And I'll see you next stream. And are you on Team CMB Z plushie or Classical Z plushie? I don't know. Why not both? I know how to sew. I can make them. Thank you so much for this roller coaster. Time to do your dailies. I need to do my Duolingo daily. Okay, yeah. Anyway, thank you all so much. Take care, everyone. Get some rest in there when you can. And Sidere is streaming on Twitch on the 15th, this Saturday. I don't know the exact time, but she is revealing something special. So if you're around when she starts streaming, I definitely recommend it. Day 500 on Duolingo for me was today. Congratulations! I made it to day 1000 and then I just stopped and now I'm picking back up. So now I'm only on like day 15 or something. Anyway, okay. Take care, everyone. Bye!